or RBI.co. UPI reports a neighborhood in South Florida was rocked Monday afternoon when police found 3 bodies inside a house after being called by neighbors to check on the residents. Police were investigating the deaths of a father, his adult son, and the father's girlfriend, whom they discovered after neighbors called 911 and are investigating a heinous act, though no details of the scene have yet been released. Mourners slowly lined the street near the house as news spread to family and members of the victim's church and were being comforted and helped by officers on the scene. Lauderhill Police Lieutenant Greg Solowski told the Sun Sentinel, "This is going to be a long investigation. All of my detectives are out here working 100%. Police received a 911 call around 2 p.m. on Monday to check on the house near the Northwest 3rd Street and 38th Avenue and discovered bodies inside the house upon arrival. Detectives said they were unsure how long the deceased had been there and did not release any details about how they died or if they are searching for suspects, though Solowski noted there is no immediate threat to the public. The Broward Sheriff's Office was called in to assist with the investigation, and an update on the situation is expected sometime Tuesday. FPP Radio News is brought to you by Bitcoin Not Bombs. Bitcoin Not Bombs is a launching pad for nonprofits and social entrepreneurs into the financial freedom of the Bitcoin economy. Bitcoin Not Bombs offers premium publicity campaigns designed to facilitate an organization's adoption of Bitcoin as a payment system and to fully capitalize on that decision in their fundraising efforts. Bitcoin Not Bombs is fully committed to being the hub of the nonprofit sector of the Bitcoin economy, maximizing the potential cross-promotion of all our clients and commercial partners. To learn more, visit bitcoinnotbombs.com. Reuters reports President Barack Obama said on Monday that NFL quarterback Colin Kaepernick was exercising his constitutional right by refusing to stand for the national anthem, although he added that the nature of the protest could make it hard for some to hear his message. Kaepernick sparked controversy last month when he remained seated before a preseason football game during the traditional rendition of the Star-Spangled Banner, saying it was a protest against racial injustice and police brutality. During a second game last week, the San Francisco 49er took one knee instead of standing. Many Americans have denounced the gesture as a sign of disrespect to the flag, though he has drawn support from some people, including some fellow players and Megan Rapinoe, a star of the U.S. women's national soccer team. Obama said he had no doubt about Kaepernick's sincerity, but acknowledged that the protest was difficult for some members of the military and law enforcement to swallow. Kaepernick, who led San Francisco to the 2013 Super Bowl but has since been demoted to a backup, is the latest professional athlete to use his celebrity to call attention to the issue of mistreatment of minority groups by law enforcement. Obama, speaking at a news conference, said he had not been following the controversy closely, but added if nothing else, what he's done is he's generated more conversation around some topics that need to be talked about. This has been FPP Radio News, online at fppradio.com.
This is The Onion Week in Review. In light of reports this week of a Russian crime ring stealing 1.2 billion username and password combinations from internet users, experts from top security firms across the country reportedly advised Americans to refrain from clicking on anything at all. The nation's top security specialists warned individuals to actively avoid any scrolling or swiping on the internet, and further urged Americans, as an added precaution, to steer clear of buttons, keyboards, and computer screens altogether. In other news, an employer botches a job interview. A date's flaws are coming at a woman faster than she can rationalize them, and a going out of business sign thanks a neighborhood for 3 months of no support whatsoever. Whether or not this video news summary eased the pain of your existence, you can now take solace in the fact that you're a few minutes closer to departing this meaningless world. For more, keep checking theonion.com.
This is the Onion News Network.
Free Talk Live.
It's Free Talk Live. You're invited here. If you want to join us, you can do that. The toll-free number is 855-450-FREE. That's 855-450-3733. I mentioned toward the end of the show last night that I had a story about Burning Man, and we kind of just started talking generally about Burning Man last night. And so I do want to get into that here in a few moments because the makeup of the show tonight is completely different. I'm still here, but the other two hosts are completely different. On Monday nights, we got Daryl and Melanie. Tonight, Johnson and Cody join me. And I think that your perspectives will probably be different than Daryl and Melanie. So it should be interesting to hear.
I'm all for attacking rich people, right?
Contrast.
That's totally different.
No. I don't think either of you would be for what you hear about in this story. But nonetheless, we'll get into that here in a little bit. We've actually got Anthony DiOrio on the line here. As you know, if you've been listening to the show in recent weeks, you know he's the programmer, the creator behind the Jaxx wallet, which is the wallet we've been recommending here on Free Talk Live as our official wallet. It allows you, of course, to have your access easily to your Bitcoin, Ether, as well as Dash, unless you happen to be an Apple user. Anthony, welcome to back to the show here tonight. I presume, are you in Toronto this evening?
I'm in Toronto. I just want to make sure my mic's okay because my regular one's not working. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, it's not bad. I mean, it's not the best mic in the world, but it'll be. It sounds better than the phone, so we'll go on with this. We talked last night on the show actually about this news that Apple has targeted Jaxx and has demanded that Jaxx remove Dash, which is the newest cryptocurrency that you guys added to the wallet. It's a multi-cryptocurrency wallet, and again, Bitcoin. Many people have heard about Bitcoin. Probably fewer people have heard about Dash. It is a purportedly anonymous cryptocurrency, and Apple has basically said, "Yeah, we haven't approved this currency, so therefore you need to strip it from your app." Is that pretty much what's going on?
Yeah, they let us know that Dash wasn't an approved one, and then they let known which 6 are approved. And which is the first recognition of them, of the ones they actually do approve and say that are legitimate. So that was quite interesting. At least now we know which 6 are good by them. And that includes Ether, DAO, Ripple, Litecoin, Dogecoin, and sorry, yeah, is that the 6? But
I don't know.
Anyways,
Yeah,
they said that they define those, and those are okay, and anything beyond that isn't okay. No. So I mean, it's all their right to do it, I guess. They may have they have an issue where they want to make sure their users are protected, and I guess they got to do their due diligence on the certain ones to ensure that there's no scam coins or they have some concerns as a private company. I guess they have the right to do that. Do
you think that's really what they're doing here, or is this Apple trying to tote water for the man and protect people from having access to an easy access, because Jaxx makes it easy to access your cryptocurrencies, to an anonymous currency? I mean, that's what one of the features of the Dash currency is supposed to be, that there's some level of anonymity.
I don't think that's it. I think you would see the same response to any other, aside from the 6 that they actually have accepted. Mm-hmm. So right now, I have no reason to believe that they're doing this specifically to Dash. They just probably are doing it to ensure, here's our 6, they're approved. If they're not one of those 6 right now, then it's not going to be allowed. So that's what they've been saying. I don't think it has to do with Dash specifically, because if we put other ones on that aren't necessarily have privacy features that Dash has, I think they would do the same thing.
I see what you're saying, though, but it would be, easy for them to never approve one of the anonymous ones, right? So if they never approve Dash or Monero or whatever the other ones are, I think Zcash is one of the ones that's coming out soon. If they never do approve any of those, then that might give some indication that Apple is not in favor of having its customers have access to anonymous cryptocurrency. Now, I remember a few years ago, they didn't want their customers to have any Bitcoin wallets whatsoever. Do you remember when that happened? Wasn't that like 3 or 4 years ago when they were doing that?
That was in, I think, 2013, and it was quite interesting at that time because that's when we launched our CryptoKit extension.
CryptoKit, yep. Great extension.
Just copies of that went up on the Chrome store.
Oh, you're kind of cutting out there. I don't know what happened to your microphone, but it kind of just ducked out real bad. I couldn't hear really a word of that. So
it's still not good right now?
Oh, you're good now. Go ahead.
Okay, let's try it again. If not, I can call you back on a different on my phone with a different mic. But Google had actually removed our wallets in 2013 from the Chrome store. And because there were malicious copies of our app that were put up there, and they removed it, but also removed ours by mistake. And that's the same time that Apple had removed theirs, and we thought Google was doing the same thing. But it turns out they mistakenly removed ours.
I see.
And they apologized and said that they were actually Bitcoin supporters and that they'd have no issue with Bitcoin wallets. So that happened around the same time Apple was having issues.
So basically, in order to keep Jaxx on the Apple App Store, you guys have to strip out Dash. But otherwise, everybody else, Android users, Linux, Windows, they'll all have access to Dash if they have the Jaxx wallet installed, correct?
Yeah, we have no issues with customers that are going to lose funds because they'll still have the same app on their iOS address and the same backup phrase will be able to use on other devices. So they won't be able to access the Dash there, but they'll be able to use their same backup phrase to do that. And it still would be available on all of the 7 other devices. And it's actually, we have a good test to see if they allow any other coins, because we have Ethereum Classic launching tomorrow.
Oh, cool.
And
yeah, I was going to ask you what's coming soon.
Yeah, okay. So that's coming tomorrow, and that'll be a good test, because if they accept that, then it doesn't hold water, I guess, the other coin issue. So if they don't accept Classic, then I think it can be said that it's not just because of Dash's privacy features. So we'll see how that does. We're going to apply it to the iOS store and see what they say. And if not, it'll be on the other ones. But we've got that, and then our plan is for another 20 coins by the end of the year.
Wow. Oh, my goodness.
That's what we're targeting. Yeah.
All right. Fantastic. Are you guys working on Monero? That seems to be a hot one right now.
So we're talking with the guys at Monero. We haven't officially said that we're carrying it. There'll be an announcement about the next ones we will be doing. But Monero is definitely one that we'd love to have in the wallet, and we're working towards that, but we haven't actually announced that it will be carried. Monero is very interesting because it's not anything to do with Bitcoin, so it adds a lot more complexities, not being a Bitcoin clone for what we do.
Right.
But definitely we would love to have Monero on there, so we are working towards it, but haven't announced yet.
Cool. Yeah, we actually had the head programmer on over the weekend to talk about Monero. Very, very interesting stuff in that it wasn't, as you mentioned, based directly off of Bitcoin. That they say they created this one from scratch. Now they obviously took the idea of the blockchain from Bitcoin, but nonetheless, very, very exciting stuff with the price dramatically shooting up over the last just few weeks. Obviously, there's a lot of newfound interest in Monero, but right now there's a real dearth. I mean, there's very, very, very few ways to actually get the average person to acquire any Monero. The wallets are confusing, they're clunky. So, I mean, Jaxx could come in there and swoop in and be the first real good easy-to-use wallet. That would be, I think, a great thing.
That's the goal, and adding a whole bunch of other ones. We really want to bring the coins together and give them the ease of access and give them, across multiple platforms, the use of their wallets. And for the certain coin, I think that'll help grow the different coins substantially.
Right, and of course, you guys also have Shapeshift.io built right into the app. So anybody, if you've already got Bitcoin, you're thinking, I'd like to try this Dash stuff out, or whatever other, you're going to add Ether Classic tomorrow. Whatever other alternatives are in there, you can just shift from one to another. So you can change your Bitcoin into Ether and vice versa, and that's one of the I think one of the killer features besides cross-platform. Now, tell me this: are people who have Macintosh computers also screwed out of Dash, or are they still going to be able to get that?
No, that's desktop version. Nothing to do with being on an app, being on an app store.
Okay, yeah, wasn't the things I was curious about. Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, and then one other interesting thing, we got the Coinbase widget coming soon too, so you'll be able to buy small amounts of Bitcoin, Ether, and Litecoin with your debit card and credit card in Jaxx as well, the same way that you do with Shapeshift. Nice. So we're going to start getting to more integrations where you can actually convert fiat and buy your tokens that way right in the app too, so that'll open some more doors.
Fantastic. Anthony, thanks for coming on here tonight. I appreciate the update, and good luck dealing with these Apple people. It sounds like they're making life a little bit more difficult than it should be for you.
Thanks, guys, and have a great show.
Yep, that's jaxx.io, by the way. Great place to go and download the app for whatever operating system that you happen to be on. I'm glad to hear that, at the very least, desktop, laptop, Macintosh users will still have access to the full Jaxx app. So the Apple restrictions appear to only affect what you download through the Apple App Store. So keep that in mind. Otherwise, if you're a Jaxx user outside of the Apple platform or the iOS platform, you'll be good to go because nobody else is standing in the way between Jaxx and you. So jaxx.io. Coming up, the so-called revolution against rich people at Burning Man. We'll talk about the class war that erupted this year at the festival, or at least that's the way they want us to think about it. So we'll see what you think coming up here in moments on Free Talk Live.
I'm Governor Gary Johnson. Like 60% of you, I'm not impressed by the two-party system. It's a dinosaur. It's outmoded and no longer reflects today's America. Two-party politics doesn't work, and it hasn't worked for anybody but itself in decades. If we the people are wise, we will never again elect another president from within the entrenched, corrupt, co-opted two-party system. The office of president should serve the needs of everyone equally, with respect and with fairness. I did it as governor, I'll do it as president. Google me. 60% of you have said you want another choice in 2016, and now you have one in me. We the people have a chance to do something in 2016 that may not come around again in our lifetimes. We have a legitimate chance to elect one of our own to the highest office in the land. Give me your vote one time and see what a difference one election can make.
Our Best America Yet. Johnson Weld, 2016.
Paid for by Gary Johnson, 2016.
Are you happy washing your hands with harsh chemicals? Are you happy doing laundry with detergents? Are you happy paying high prices? Find your happiness with Pure Soap. These all-natural, earth-friendly Pure Soaps are the very best you've ever used. Buy in bulk. Get a 12, 36, or 48-month supply. Or get items individually and still save big. You're getting soap products twice as good as what you're using now. Earth-friendly and natural soaps. Your family deserves the best. Happiness is 5starsoap.com. Why not put your money up the drain for a change? See them at 5starsoap.com or call 1-800-340-7091 for a catalog. Cal Ben Soap Company can save you thousands of dollars and give you good old-fashioned real soaps that are triple concentrated. Soaps made from vegetable and coconut oils. See their full selection of soaps at 5starsoap.com. That's F-I-V-E starsoap.com. Or call 1-800-340-7091 for a catalog.
Hi, I'm Derek J. To me, an activist's calling is to actively work to advance a cause. The cause for which I work is personal freedom. I believe my life is best when I engage in voluntary interactions and self-government. I reject the idea that anyone else has a higher claim to my life or my body than I do. I see people who call themselves the government as a threat to my personal freedom. I realize you may feel differently, but my relationship with the people who call themselves the government is completely involuntary. If Starbucks used some of its money to drop bombs, I wouldn't shop there. So why would I support the American empire? The empire does not require my consent.
Derek J's Victimless Crime Spree. Watch it for free and order the Director's Cut DVD at victimlesscrimespree.com. That's victimlesscrimespree.com. You may already know about the Free Talk Live audio-on-demand phone line at 641-793-9660. Did you know that not only can you listen to Free Talk Live via your phone, you can also leave a message and have it delivered to Free Talk Live's hosts? To leave us your thoughts, just dial 641-793-9660. That's 641-793-9660. Press 2 for Free Talk Live, and then hit 0 to leave your message.
Radio is the most personal of mediums. I exist right now in your head. If you listen to Free Talk Live regularly, you know me. Free Talk Live is on more than 160 radio stations around the U.S. and has been downloaded on every continent around the world. Hundreds of thousands of listeners with ad packages from $600 a month to $6,000 a month. Imagine what we can do for your business, project, website, or idea. Email me, mark@freetalklive.com.
What's up next? Visit the Liberty Radio Network program guide to find out at shows.lrn.fm. That's shows.lrn.fm.
This is Free Talk Live, and you can take control of the airwaves here. The toll-free number, 855-450-FREE. Have you ever been to Burning Man? And did you go back in the day? Have you been recently? Because, things have changed over time.
So they say.
Yep, and this thing's been going on for a few decades at this point. The Burning Man Festival started in 1986. So it's 30 years old as of this year.
Man, older than me.
70,000 people will attend the week-long festival in the Black Rock Desert.
That's a lot of people.
Of Nevada. Yeah, I mean, the aerial photos always look pretty fantastic. I mean, just this sort of circular city-state, basically, is created and then destroyed within 1 week's time. Everything that is brought in is brought out. And it's a fascinating thing. I mean, we've been reporting on it for years here on Free Talk Live, off and on. I don't think if you go back every year that you'll hear Burning Man reporting, but generally like every other year or every year, we have reported on some of the news coming out of Burning Man.
I was going to say, there's normally a story or two that comes out of there. That's,
there's always some interesting news coming out of Burning Man, whether it's I think it was last year, or no, maybe it was I guess it was earlier this year, there was some discussion as to how the Bureau of Land Management, which is the federal bureaucracy that essentially rents out this plot of land, this desert, the playa as they call it, that they wanted this ridiculous mansion to be built for them, where they'd have a chef and washing machines and dryers, and the Bureau of Land Management had this ridiculous contract that they gave to the Burning Man organizers. Weird. Yeah, it was crazy.
And I suppose they had to sign it, right?
Was trying to force them to do this? Is that what it was?
Well, yeah. It was, you either do what we say or you're not going to get the land.
Yeah, I mean, that's what I'm saying. Do you have a choice when it comes to them?
No, and they've been increasing the amount of money that they've been charging dramatically over the last several years. So, it had gone up to $1 million or something like that. It was. I'd have to pull the exact story, but it was outrageous how much it had increased.
One year they just said, "No, we're taking the land." They just said, "Yeah, this is government land. We're going to host the party here.
We're going to show up, and what are you going to do about it?"
Yeah.
Right? We got 70,000 people. How many troops are you going to bring out? Right.
Right.
Yeah, that would be interesting. I suspect if they tried something like that, they'd probably end up being arrested on some sort of federal conspiracy charge.
Sure, but.
But of course, the best solution, Johnson, would be for them to find a private property owner and then just go and throw this on somebody's private land, and then they wouldn't have to have all these cops everywhere, because that's been one of the other issues we've talked about.
Has to be a lot of land, and that's land that is going to get destroyed.
Well, no, actually, one of the rules of the sort of the hippie community is that whatever you bring in, you bring out, basically.
And I've seen reports,
and that's why it's in the middle of the desert, because if you're on a land with plant matter, I mean,
that would be destroyed for sure. For sure.
But when they're burning stuff,
there's private land in the desert too, right? I mean, there's plenty of private property out there that they could probably rent for a fraction of the price of what they're paying the Bureau of Land Management. So I don't recall what the end deal was, but the price has been going up year after year. The amount of restrictions have been going up year after year, and the ridiculous demands of the federal bureaucrats has been going up. So those are some of the things we've discussed. The ever-increasing police presence.
I can't even imagine what kind of insurance requirements they would have if we were on private property, though, that the state would force.
So there's been a bunch of different aspects of this that we've covered over the years, but this year, it just wrapped up, by the way. Yesterday was the final day. Everybody was kind of packing up, going home. And there's a very disturbing story that has come out of this year's Burning Man. This is being reported over at the Telegraph in the UK. It's supposed to be a utopian vision of peace and love, but this year's Burning Man festival has been marred by hooligans carrying out a revolution. These are their words, apparently. Quote, "revolution against rich parasites," unquote. The festival plays out each year in Nevada's Black Rock Desert, where 70,000 people build a city in a week, burn a giant wooden effigy of a man, and then restore the arid playa to its original state. In recent years, it has become popular with Silicon Valley millionaires and billionaires. Luxurious so-called plug-and-play camps have sprung up, which use hired staff like cooks, builders, and security, and allow international jet-setters to drop in for quick visits. Many traditional burners claim this is a betrayal of the spirit of radical self-reliance that is the cornerstone of the festival, which began in 1986. As anger boiled over, one camp called White Ocean, which hosts high-profile DJs on a state-of-the-art stage, became the focus of this anger. The camp first made an appearance at Burning Man 3 years ago, and its founders include British DJ Paul Oakenfold and the son of a Russian billionaire. Now, while the camp was holding a party at which revelers listened to techno music, it was attacked by vandals who flooded it with water and cut power lines. In a dismayed post on Facebook, camp leaders said, quote, "A very unfortunate and saddening event happened last night at White Ocean, something we thought would never be possible in our Burning Man utopia. A band of hooligans raided our camp, stole from us, pulled and sliced all of our electrical lines, leaving us with no refrigeration and wasting our food, and glued our trailer doors shut."
Wow.
So nobody was physically attacked. There wasn't an actual physical assault that was committed on these.
My guess is that probably wasn't even intentional. It was just them being cowards.
Wait, what wasn't intentional?
That there wasn't a physical assault. That whoever these people were that did this were just cowards, and they wanted to sneak in and sneak out.
Oh, yeah. No, I don't think they intended to.
If they, had it in them or somebody caught them, I'm sure there probably would have been a physical attack.
They vandalized most of our camping infrastructure and dumped 200 gallons of potable water, flooding our camp. Camp leaders said they felt like there had been an effort to sabotage us from every angle because they say some feel we are not deserving of Burning Man. Quote, "We actually had someone from the Burning Man organization tell us that it makes sense that you've been sabotaged as you are a closed camp and not welcoming." But leaders of the White Ocean camp said their reputation was unfair because they feed hundreds of other campers every day, and they've embraced other burners with open hearts and immense love. They said, quote, "We'll absolutely not let this pathetic violation stop what we came here to do. We came here to unite people through music and love. We can make these foolish acts of hate as minuscule as a particle of dust on our beloved playa." Deputies from the local Pershing County Sheriff's Office went to the camp to assess the damage and are investigating. So there's a little bit more to the story, but your first response here. I mean, I don't know how familiar you are, Cody, with Burning Man Festival.
Decently.
Yeah.
I can understand where the anger's coming from. I think they took it out totally the wrong way. But I was just kind of thinking, like, all right, how can I relate to this? Well, like, as an old-timey podcaster, what upset me was when, like, Adam Carolla and Joe Rogan came in and all these big guys. The big names. Who
immediately get sign-ups. They immediately get subscriptions.
Millions of dollars. He has the money to make sure he's number one.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, that kind of thing, it sort of changed the vibe, changed the whole idea of what it meant to me and other people. So, yeah, Burning Man was supposed to be this thing where it wasn't really about, it's definitely not about private jets. And I mean, this doesn't even necessarily have an effect on whether or not you believe in capitalism, communism, or anything. I think the intention of Burning Man is that, well, we spend a week and money's not really the big deal. Maybe outside of that, I mean, you got to spend money to get into Burning Man, but hey, just have a week where we're all just people partying and having a good time, and it's about love and not about private jets and all of these little private parties and areas.
I want to get into this a little bit deeper coming up here in moments.
Sure.
The toll-free number is 855-450-FREE. If you're an old-school burner or a new-school one, would love to hear your input as well. 855-450-3733, or join us on Skype at lrn.fm. This is Free Talk Live.
So you've got to take a state construction license exam or certification. Can't decide on what books or what chapters to study? Discover right now how you can eliminate unnecessary books and wasted study time. At contractorexam.com, our study materials zero in on state-required test topics in an effective, multiple-choice format. So whether you're a plumber, electrician, general contractor, or other construction-related trade, contractorexam.com will help get you prepared. Visit us at www.contractorexam.com today.
Worried about lead, fluoride, and other contaminants in your drinking water? Get a ProPure with the Pro 1G 2.0 cleanable reusable filter and remove up to 200 contaminants. Drink water the way nature meant it to be. Clean, crisp, and refreshing. See the complete line of ProPure products, including the new ProMax shower filter. There's a ProPure for you. Visit your authorized ProPure dealer for details or ProPureUSA.com. That's ProPureUSA.com.
Does your basement or crawl space have a damp, musty smell? Well, watch out. That's a sign of too much moisture and not enough ventilation. And that can mean increased mold growth and the buildup of harmful toxins and gases. Don't bother with a dehumidifier. It just circulates the same unhealthy air. Now there's a better way to remove these dangers and odors. It's with the computerized Wave Moisture Control Unit that reduces moisture and expels pollutants.
We replaced our old dehumidifier with the Wave unit, and in only 3 weeks, our basement is dry and the musty smell is gone.
Wave units require no maintenance, no buckets of water or filters, and costs only pennies a day to run. Breathe better, live healthier with an affordable, no-maintenance Wave unit. Call 888-618-WAVE, 888-618-WAVE, or visit mydryhome.com, mydryhome.com.
Ride the wave. Wave Home Solutions for a healthy, comfortable home.
This Your Family Today tip is brought to you by Nestle Toll House Refrigerated Cookie Dough. Who would you bake some love for? Find fun and easy baking ideas at tollhouse.com. Kids love doing arts and crafts projects, especially when you join in. Try channeling all that artistic energy into the kitchen and bake up some creative treats together. Think of your art supplies as the frosting, sprinkles, and decorating gels, and use cookies or cupcakes as your canvas. For more tips like these, visit us at parenthood.com/yourfamilytoday.
DVD, books, music, instruments, periodicals, computers, software, electronics, photo, cell phones, office products, home and garden, bed and bath, furniture, kitchen, pet supplies, automotive, hardware, apparel, shoes, jewelry, grocery, healthcare, sports and outdoors, toys, games, used, and more. It's a department store at your fingertips. Shop.freetalklive.com. Get all your shopping done, get a great deal, and a portion of your purchase goes to benefit Free Talk Live when you enter Amazon via shop.freetalklive.com.
Free Press Publications is an independent, alternative media and publishing company founded in June 2009 with the mission of ensuring a free press for the freedom movement and is committed to spreading the message of peace, freedom, love, and liberty. FPP also gives new authors an avenue for publishing freedom-oriented material. FPP brings you daily news and commentary on the website fpp.cc, as well as a daily 5-minute newscast, FPP Radio News, and weekly news, views, and commentary in the FPP Freedom Minute and Peace, Love, Liberty Radio at fppradio.com, and the monthly newspaper FPP News at news.fpp.cc. Find FPP online at fpp.cc. That's fpp.cc, as in Creative Commons.
If you enjoy LRN.FM, please contribute to your favorite shows via their websites and become an amplifier at amp.lrn.fm. That's amp.lrn.fm.
It is Free Talk Live, and you can bring up what you want. Join us here toll free. There's trouble on the playa this year at Burning Man with an attack against one of the wealthier camps, I guess you could say. There's a White Ocean camp that has been there now for 3 years, and they say they've fed hundreds of other campers. They feed hundreds of other campers every single day. They are part of the community. Others are saying they're a closed camp. That they're not sharing enough or something like that. Maybe they're feeding people but only letting certain people into their camp or something. I'm not sure all the details on White Ocean, but during one of their events, they were attacked by raiders, basically.
How is that word spelled, playa? I've never heard that before.
Playa, I believe.
Yep.
Yeah.
Playa?
And so it's basically not like it's like the kind of desert that's not sandy, essentially. Like
it's basically glass.
Is that
so
right?
You don't want to assume that it's all just sand. And I mean, you might want to look it up, but I have heard that you don't want to be walking around barefoot. And this is why
that's what a bunch of people have goggles on too.
I don't see the appeal of Burning Man because you have to wear goggles. Or you're going to have crap in your eyes. You're going to be wearing shoes.
There's dust everywhere.
Hot days, freezing nights.
So according to Wikipedia, it's a sink geography, also known as an alkali flat or sabkha, a desert basin with no outlet which periodically fills with water to form a temporary lake. It's also called a dry lake, commonly a playa in the southwest U.S.
Interesting. There you go. So you were saying it's dirty. There's dust storms kick up. We were talking about last night how if you're going to go camping, they recommend you bring rebar so you can literally stake down your tent with rebar.
Right.
Because if you just use your standard little tent stakes, the wind could just blow that sucker out of there.
I didn't even realize the wind was a problem, too.
Oh, yeah, dude. That's why you see all these people with the goggles, because there's constant dust storms there.
Right.
Why don't they just move it to an active volcano next year? I mean, holy crap.
Well, part of the whole thing. Now, what they're saying here is the critiques against this, let's call it a rich camp, okay, camp for rich people, this White Ocean. The critique is, well, this is the Burning Man has always been about radical self-reliance. That you're supposed to, you are supposed to bring in everything that you need. You're not supposed to be reliant on other people. So they're saying the fact that this camp has professional chefs, that they have security guards and things like who obviously weren't doing a very good job if they were attacked by. They need new security. Because there was a band of hooligans that apparently attacked the camp while they were having a party and sliced up all their power lines, glued their trailer doors shut, which slicing the electrical lines left no refrigeration, so their food spoiled. And so the people that are critiquing these guys are saying, well, these guys aren't true to Burning Man.
Right.
They are not radically self-reliant.
I don't understand, right? So there's this idea of it being a gift economy. that's the case, wouldn't it be kind of a thing like the rich people are gifting more because they have more to gift?
Well, right, and they said that they had given hundreds of meals out to the average members of the camp there on a daily basis.
How that works. If
I
it's
guess it's hard to know unless you were really there. I mean, at this point,
right?
It sounds like it's one guy's word against another.
You're saying you wonder how that works?
Yeah, because if it's a closed, this white ocean area is closed off. It's like a separate. They're saying it's a separate thing. How are they providing those meals?
Maybe they've got a tent that faces outward to the public.
Right.
So like maybe it's restricted to go into White Ocean, but if you are hungry, you can go up to their food tent or something like that.
It does make me wonder if it's like, what are you trying to keep out the riffraff? Like,
yeah, it sounds like they are, which is understandable given that the riffraff went and sliced up their power lines. And
true, although I don't know. I'm just trying to put myself in the shoes of someone who's showing up at Burning Man. Here's an area where there's jets flying in with these rich Silicon Valley billionaires. Like sipping martinis on some big float with their own private British DJ, Paul Oakenfold. And you're just sitting out there in the sandy desert with your crappy goggles watching from the sidelines. Like, I mean, like I said, I don't at all approve of what they did, but I can understand where the anger's coming from.
Sure. Well, I can understand it too, and it's certainly not appropriate to use violence, to use destruction of property to get your point across. But if indeed Burning Man is about radical self-reliance, well, couldn't the argument be that the rich people are so darned reliant that they were able to hire professional chefs,
possibly,
or like so self-reliant, like hey, I can take care of myself so well, I can hire other people to do it for me.
Rich people are typically a lot more self-reliant than poor riffraff that want to destroy other people's stuff.
Let me go with a little bit more from this piece here from the Telegraph. Many festival goers were outraged that the peaceful nature of the event had been undermined. Elena Serdoiak, a burner from San Francisco, told the Reno Gazette-Journal, quote, "This is evil. This should not be happening at Burning Man. This is supposed to be about love, happiness, sharing, giving, and appreciating. It's unbelievable that there are angry people here," she said. But others supported the attack, saying it was time to take back the festival. Tony Wachowski, a burner, said, quote, "And so the revolution has begun, taking Burning Man back from the parasite class, back from the electronic dance music tourists, taking Burning Man back for the people. This wasn't much, but it's a great start."
Yeah, because no one wants those electronic dance music people there. No one wants artists at Burning Man. Why would you want creative things to happen at the, event that's supposed to be about art and creativity?
Yeah, this has always been something. Johnson, you're an old school raver. You used to go to raves back in the, late 90s?
Yeah.
Early aughts?
Early 90s, actually.
Early 90s?
Yeah.
So, what were you, like 12 at a rave or something like that?
I started raving in 6th grade.
Okay, then you really were.
Yeah.
That's pretty unusual. So, yeah, you're really old school. And so, there's the kind of the jaded raver syndrome where over time raves have changed. Here we are.
Thanks, Joe Biden, you loser.
Well, there is that. But ultimately, I don't know if you could really blame it on the politicians.
I sure can blame it on the Rave Act. I absolutely can. Joe Biden's responsible for. He's one of the initial signatories. He's the co-sponsor or whatever of that bill.
All right. So what was it that he did that changed raves? What are you going to blame on the government?
Well, do you know what the Rave Act is?
Yes.
Okay. So
But we should explain.
That it gives the police the authority to shut down any loud music event, but specifically electronic music is where they targeted that because it could or will have drugs at it.
Correct.
So if it was a loud metal show, they'd be less worried.
It was about more than shutting it down, though. Wasn't it about confiscating the property itself?
There's probably a lot more to it. But
if I'm recalling correctly, I don't know if that provision ended up in it,
right.
But ultimately, that I remember when we talked about it here on Free Talk Live years ago. That was the concern, was that the club or the facility owner would not want to have a rave because if somebody got caught with some MDMA, then the club facility owner could be charged, arrested, or even have the club stolen from him.
The funny thing is that we probably talked about this like over a decade ago.
It was a decade ago.
Yeah, it was like crazy. And the reason why we talked about it was because of that raid in Ohio that was raved.
You mean Utah?
Was it Utah? Maybe it was Utah.
There was the Utah one where they flew in with helicopters and they literally had like a SWAT team rappelling down into an outdoor rave.
Attacking people that were just peaceful trying to dance.
It was crazy.
Like, hey, leave us alone.
What did they mostly have for venues back in the day? Was it like actual venues or like abandoned warehouses?
Well, there were underground warehouse raves.
Yeah, there were a lot of that. A lot more warehouse raves back before the Rave Act. and then.
But was that really
still
better?
Stuff in the woods and stuff like that. Yes. Yes.
I think it would be. I think it would be in a lot of ways.
Why?
Because there's something very real about, there's no words to explain. It's like, cool things just become crappy over time.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes usually it comes with popularity, and maybe that might be, part of why Burning Man's getting worse every year. And, if we have time later in the show, I've got an article from Daniel Pinchbeck, who's a psychedelic author who wrote last year why I'm not going to Burning Man this year. And I know I have read the article, and it has something to do with what we're talking about.
Well, we'll come back into that.
Yes.
But continuing on the rave topic, so why would you say that a warehouse rave in the 90s was better than a rave that might be thrown today?
People would just show up and go inside rather than having to wait in a huge line. I mean, that's like one huge difference. You would have.
Why would that be? There was no doorman, no security?
No, of course not. There didn't necessarily need to be in a lot of cases back then. The DJs were a lot of local and less, it's where a lot of the DJs who are huge now got their start, and it was like, it just had a different feel to it. I mean,
Hold that thought. We'll continue here in moments. Your thoughts are welcome at 855-450-FREE. That's 855-450-3733. And Burning Man is changing too. Some say for the worse. Is it the truth?
Today, how to incorporate your business in just 10 minutes so you won't lose everything if you get sued. Step 1, stop putting it off. If you're not incorporated and someone sues your business tomorrow, it's not just your business at risk. You can lose everything: your home, your car, even your life savings. Step 2, call the following number for a free 10-minute incorporation guide from Incorporate.com. 1-800-945-1063. They don't provide legal or financial advice. They just make incorporating quick and easy. So you can incorporate or form an LLC in just 10 minutes. That number again is 1-800-945-1063. Step 3, congratulate yourself. By taking just 10 minutes to incorporate your business or form an LLC, you protected your home, your car, and your life savings. And that is how you incorporate your business in just 10 minutes. But hurry while they're still giving away these 10-minute incorporation guides for free. Call 1-800-945-1063. That's 1-800-945-1063.
Will the government protect your family from Iran and North Korea's newest weapon, EMP? We buy guns to protect ourselves, home, health, and car insurance for accidents. Maybe you also have food storage. But how would you keep your refrigerator running in a long-term EMP blackout? Using tested military designs, the Solarc EMP-hardened solar generator protects and powers your critical appliances for years without burying items underground or wrapping them in aluminum foil. Unlike other preps, Solarc is used every day to help offset your electric bill automatically. Visit PortableSolarLLC.com to learn how easily expandable the system is. Solarc is the most affordable and powerful solution on the market. The whole system even fits in the back of a pickup or SUV and can install in less than an hour. See for yourself why Solarc beats other off-grid systems at PortableSolarLLC.com. Don't wait for the government. Go to PortableSolarLLC.com to learn why Solarc is energy insurance for your family.
On Free Talk Live, we're bringing people to the ideas of liberty every day. From wrestling superstars like Glenn Jacobs.
You guys really are having an impact, I believe. Like I said, a lot of where I am now is due to listening to Free Talk Live. You changed my mind on some very important issues years ago.
To random people tuning in on the radio.
I was kind of stuck in the left-right paradigm. I heard your show by chance on a Saturday night. From there, I went on, joined the Free State Project, and become an amplifier. So, I mean, that's really the reason why I amp is because I know that if it wasn't for you guys being on as many stations as you are, I never would have found the ideas of liberty.
Your amp will directly change more lives by getting Free Talk Live in front of people looking for talk radio online and on the air. When you amp Free Talk Live, you get perks like access to the AMP-only Facebook group and AMP podcast. Visit amp.freetalklive.com.
The three most important things you can do for Free Talk Live are: 1, share one episode a week on Facebook or in some other social networking site. 2, buy the things you buy online through shop.freetalklive.com. 3, give $5 a month to the AMP program. It's my firm belief that Free Talk Live's AMP program is the best use of your charitable dollar among liberty-oriented organizations. Support all the organizations you love, but make sure you give $5 a month to AMP at amp.freetalklive.com.
Are you a political activist who does things that the government might not like? Then this free ebook may save your life. Rats is your guide to protecting yourself against snitches, informers, informants, agents provocateurs, narcs, finks, and similar vermin. Rats was written by OG libertarian Claire Wolfe. Rats is a short book, easy to read, and available free in many formats. Download Rats free at rats-nosnitch.com. That's rats-nosnitch.com.
You're listening to the best liberty-oriented audio streamed around the clock, on the air and online. This is the Liberty Radio Network at LRN.FM.
It's Free Talk Live. Dial on in toll-free and join us here. The number is 855-450-FREE. That's 855-450-3733. We've got Skype. Skype username is LRN.FM. We're talking about the change in festivals, specifically the Burning Man Festival, but we kind of got sidetracked into discussing the rave scene as well. There's some people that are really upset. You know, Burning Man's been around for 3 decades now, and obviously it's not the same way it was back in 1986. There's a lot more people now. It started as, I think, a beach gathering, if I'm recalling correctly.
I think you might be right.
And, you know, became this camping festival that just attracted more and more people over the years.
It's very Road Warrior.
Hitting up to, it kind of looks that way. Yeah. And, yeah, very, very steampunk in a lot of ways. And now there are people who are actually destroying the property of others at Burning Man because, well, fact is there are a lot of people at Burning Man who don't really understand property rights to begin with. Right. But secondly, there are people who are now, you know, they're not really concerned with property rights, and combined with the anger against rich people who have been showing up at Burning Man and, you know, in the opinion of the critics, basically not being appropriate, not being as the rest of Burning Man is supposed to be. This sort of idea of radical self-reliance. You pack in, you know, you bring more than just yourself, whereas now you've got people flying in on a helicopter or whatever, coming out, hanging out for a few hours, and then taking off.
And that's why next year I'm going to take my private jet and I'm going to teach these people how to love rich people, because I learned that in this election season.
He sure did. Old Bernie, he's back on the campaign trail for Hillary, by the way, apparently.
Yeah, what an idiot.
So, yeah, I don't know how many politicians went to Burning Man.
Plenty of young minds there that need to be voting for Hillary.
But there are some big names that attend this festival. I mean, people like, there's a picture of Cory Doctorow there.
Elon Musk.
Paris Hilton, Elon Musk. I mean, all kinds of folks go. But how many of them stay for the full week?
Paris is out in the desert going, that's hot. It's hot.
How many of them are actually...
Should have a horrible time, yeah.
Right. How many of them are actually packing in their own equipment and, you know, setting up camp? Well, now, wait a minute. If you look at Burning Man, because it's easy to critique the richest, right? Like, oh, those rich people coming in here with their fancy things. But now there's obviously a difference just between most campers.
How much does it cost to attend Burning Man?
It's a few $100 for a ticket. I don't know how much. Last time I looked, it was at least $300 for a ticket. And really, that just gets you entrance. It doesn't really do anything else.
Well, and I think too, there's a lottery there now. Like, there's only
to get the tickets.
I think there's only a certain amount of people because so many people want to go.
That could be true. It does seem to have sort of plateaued out at 70,000, so maybe that's because they're not allowing more than 70,000 to attend.
You mean it plied.
But there you go. But the point that I wanted to make there was that, you know, even a decade ago, there were people attending Burning Man in RVs. That's a fairly popular thing to do. I mean, look, if you're in a tent.
There was an episode of Malcolm in the Middle. Not Malcolm. Yeah, is that the one with? Yeah, I think that was it.
Know.
Never mind.
There's all these, you know, costumes and stuff that happen out there too that are also very elaborate, and people are decorating vehicles and doing all these, you know,
the art cars
things,
is what they're called. Art cars.
And that's, you know, takes some money too.
Oh, absolutely. Anybody who's got an art installation at Burning Man has obviously got some money to, let's say, burn because they're very extravagant artwork there. I mean, that's the attraction of Burning Man. But beyond, you know, going and hanging out and partying with people in the desert for a week, the real attraction to Burning Man, I think, for a lot of people is the absolutely exquisite and beautiful art that is brought out there and set up in addition to apparently the Burning Man, the sort of the classic stick man that they have out there that they set on fire at the end of the week, apparently this year they also had an 80-foot tall, like sort of oriental-looking house that was built. They set that sucker on fire too. I mean, so the amount of the amount of wood, the amount of material, the amount of clay or whatever it is that they're using to build these things, they come out, they build the art on the site, and they take it down at the end of the week. I mean, that's an expensive thing to do. It's expensive on its own to just simply stay in camp a week at Burning Man, just for all the stuff you need to bring in with you there. It's not like going to Rogers Campground where you can just hop on over to the convenience store if you want to. The nearest convenience store is miles away, right? So there's no easy access to anything here.
Although, for that level of people, I'm sure that somebody could move an entire convenience store there.
They could, but it's against the rules to sell things at Burning Man.
Oh,
you didn't know that?
No, I didn't know that.
So I think that's sort of part of that's an important part of this discussion to have. So
yeah, that's a pretty important.
And
part
that's why I was interested to see how you guys would talk about this compared to Melanie, because last night Melanie was saying there, like under no circumstance, unless Edward Snowden showed up, would Melanie attend.
Of course she said that.
Right. Because it's too hippie for her. It's too kind of lefty. And
no.
And part of it is this idea of this gift economy, which I think you touched on earlier, Cody.
Yeah.
And this is similar to the Rainbow Festival, except the Rainbow Festival lasts for longer and goes on all year round. It just moves about.
Seems like Rainbow's way more underground, too.
Yeah, I would say you're right about that. Rainbow doesn't generate headlines typically wherever it is that they go. In this case, the gift economy idea, and please, if you are more hippie than I am, please correct me if I'm wrong. Toll-free number is 855-450-FREE. But the idea is you show up and you give things to other people, not expecting anything in return. And ultimately, everybody kind of gets taken care of.
Especially in that orgy tent, am I right?
That's a thing, too. They actually have an article about the orgy tent this year. There's probably more than one of them. But so anyway, the gift economy, it's sort of like they actually look down on people who would want to trade things or use money for something. So you're not supposed to do that. You're not supposed to bring money to Burning Man, basically. And that's a whole it's
an event you want to show up to in a capitalist T-shirt.
Yeah, that probably wouldn't go over very well. They don't like it when you wear. I guess they don't like people with flags that like advertise something. So if you went with some sort of flag for your organization, that would not be something that would be looked on acceptably. You're just sort of supposed to be there and to experience
Elon Musk
it.
isn't driving up in a Tesla.
I doubt it. It's going to get really dusty too. So you probably don't want to bring a really nice car out to this thing.
There's no, I wonder what with the Tesla, it's all electronic, right? So there's no exhaust or whatever to be clogged with the dust.
Maybe the hippies would like it.
That's true. Yeah, there is that. So if you've got experience at Burning Man, we'd love to hear from you. Our toll-free number is 855-450-FREE. So I think for a lot of libertarians, it would sort of rub them the wrong way with the whole gift economy thing. But it's just, it's different.
So don't go.
Yeah,
I mean, the thing is that's cool about festivals is they're just big social experiments, you know? Pork Fest is a social experiment. Burning Man's a social experiment, And it's cool to see, well, here's a different way we could experience life. Check it out. It doesn't mean you have to always live like that, just...
But the thing is, there have been a lot of people with a Pork Fest, too, that I've never really understood. They have this very closed mentality, about that being kind of a closed event and not necessarily opening it up to outsiders, I guess. There are a lot of... the Pork Fest board, or I don't know, the Free State Project board, I guess, who have had this kind of mentality where it's like, well, we don't want outsiders coming in.
Why wouldn't they?
It's dangerous.
What do they mean by outsiders?
Like people who aren't necessarily there for the Free State Project and would just show up for a festival.
You know what?
If you don't want to be labeled as a cult, don't use the word outsider. That's a little weird.
For sure. Look, I can comment on this now because I have been to the Porcupine Freedom Festival that you're talking about here for a number of years, but this year I didn't go because we weren't welcome. Free Talk Live was not welcome. And we went to the New Hampshire Hemp Fest instead. And I'll admit there was some concern, okay, well, this is more the hippie crowd, the let's say, not so freedom-oriented, not so principled crowd, is there going to be a concern with losing expensive equipment or something like that?
Right.
And I got to say, I don't think there was that concern. I think the crowd was generally a really well-behaved group. I mean, you still had your incidents of people getting too drunk or too high or whatever, but that happens at the Porcupine Freedom Festival, or it did. Maybe now the new family-friendly version, that won't happen as much that they've created as of this year. But ultimately, we went in there with some concerns and walked out thinking this was really a great festival full of good folks. And the funny thing about it was that the Hippie Fest, the New Hampshire Hemp Fest, was actually a cleaner festival. They had people regularly going about picking up trash, and there really wasn't that much trash to pick up because most of the hippies are good about cleaning up after themselves, like, believe it or not.
Right.
They might not pick up their room in their house, but when they're out camping, there's sort of the general rule. It's the Rainbow Family. You'll see it at Burning Man, where if you bring it in, you pack it back out, and the general rule is you leave a campsite cleaner than you found it. And so obviously, not everybody's going to follow those rules precisely in a festival of thousands of people or whatever. So they did have a volunteer crew with trash bags walking around. Definitely the last couple of days they were pretty prevalent, and the park looked great at the end from what I could tell.
A lot more of a pretty place to go than the Playa.
Yeah.
No
doubt. Well, the Playa has its own unique beauty. I can't say I would be against attending a Burning Man. I think it would be fascinating. It's just the logistics of it are what's difficult for me. It's like, oh my God, you're talking about a huge trip across the country, and you got to bring everything you need. That's a lot of self-reliance, right?
Yep.
We're coming up in hour 2. Free Talk Live has partnered with Amazon, the largest internet retailer. Imagine a department store category, and Amazon has it. Books, electronics, office products, furniture, jewelry, automotive, toys, clothing, sporting goods, and dozens of other categories. Now you can shop and support Free Talk Live by entering Amazon through our website. Go to shop.freetalklive.com, and Amazon will send us a portion of your purchase. You're going to do the shopping anyway, so remember to enter through our site at shop.freetalklive.com. That's shop.freetalklive.com. Here's a good idea. When you have a legal matter like creating your will or legally setting up a business with a corporation or LLC, you don't necessarily need a law firm. Use LegalZoom.com. At LegalZoom.com, you answer straightforward questions online, and they take care of the rest. They even review your answers for common mistakes and guarantee your satisfaction. Free Talk Live listeners, you'll get 10% off your order by typing in FTL in the referral box at purchase. Don't procrastinate with these important legal documents. LegalZoom.com.
This is your Roberts & Roberts Brokerage Daily Precious Metals Update. In early trading Tuesday, gold is $12 higher at $1,338 per ounce. Silver is 17 cents higher at $19.74 per ounce. Bitcoin is trading at $608 US. If you've thought about buying gold or silver but didn't know how or what to buy, we can help. Call Roberts & Roberts Brokerage today at 800-874-9760 or visit us online at rrbi.co.
Did you know you can watch Free Talk Live during our live show 7 days a week from 7 to 10 p.m. Eastern via our studio cams at cam.freetalklive.com? Plus, you can chat with other listeners while you watch, all totally free. Now that our live video stream is hosted by YouTube, our video archives will be online even faster. So be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel. Listen, watch, and chat all free at cam.freetalklive.com. That's cam.freetalklive.com.
You're listening to the live edition of Free Talk Live. Hour number 2 is next after the news here on the Liberty Radio Network at LRN.FM.
From Keene in the Shire, the Liberty Media capital of the world, this is Daryl W. Perry, host of FPP Radio News for Tuesday, September 6th, 2016. Silver is trading at $19.59 per ounce. Gold is valued at $1,335 per ounce. And according to BitcoinAverage.com, the average price of Bitcoin is $613. Antiwar.com reports 3 bombings were reported on Monday in the Afghan capital city of Kabul in the area around the defense ministry. The first blast was a remote-triggered IED, which gathered security forces in the area and led to a major suicide attack in the same area. A third blast, described as a car bombing, was reported shortly thereafter, and locals reported hearing gunfire from the area around the embassy district, though officials have yet to confirm any of the shootings. All told, at least 30 people were killed and 91 wounded. Security forces appear to have borne a significant portion of the casualties in the attack, with one of the city's district police chiefs reportedly among the slain in the bombings. The Taliban claimed a much higher death toll, saying they killed 58 officers and commanders in the strike. Afghan President Ashraf Ghani issued a statement attempting to downplay the incident, suggesting that the Taliban attacks proved that they had lost their ability to fight the security forces. Despite this, there is still very much such fighting ongoing, with the Taliban still controlling substantial territory nationwide. For nearly 40 years, Roberts & Roberts Brokerage has been a trusted source for buying and selling precious metals like gold and silver. They also take Bitcoin for precious metal purchases and have permanently removed the minimum purchase amount for all orders paid in the digital currency. Call Roberts & Roberts today for knowledgeable advice on buying and selling precious metals and a forward-thinking approach to new technologies. 800-874-9760 or visit online at rrbi.co. UPI reports a neighborhood in South Florida was rocked Monday afternoon when police found 3 bodies inside a house after being called by neighbors to check on the residents. Police were investigating the deaths of a father, his adult son, and the father's girlfriend, whom they discovered after neighbors called 911, and are investigating a heinous act, though no details of the scene have yet been released. Mourners slowly lined the street near the house as news spread to family and members of the victim's church, and were being comforted and helped by officers on the scene. Lauderhill Police Lieutenant Greg Solowski told the Sun Sentinel, "This is going to be a long investigation. All of my detectives are out here working 100%. Police received a 911 call around 2 p.m. on Monday to check on the house near the Northwest 3rd Street and 38th Avenue and discovered bodies inside the house upon arrival. Detectives said they were unsure how long the deceased had been there and did not release any details about how they died or if they are searching for suspects, though Solowski noted there is no immediate threat to the public. The Broward Sheriff's Office was called in to assist with the investigation, and an update on the situation is expected sometime Tuesday. FPP Radio News is brought to you by Bitcoin Not Bombs. Bitcoin Not Bombs is a launching pad for nonprofits and social entrepreneurs into the financial freedom of the Bitcoin economy. Bitcoin Not Bombs offers premium publicity campaigns designed to facilitate an organization's adoption of Bitcoin as a payment system and to fully capitalize on that decision in their fundraising efforts. Bitcoin Not Bombs is fully committed to being the hub of the nonprofit sector of the Bitcoin economy, maximizing the potential cross-promotion of all our clients and commercial partners. To learn more, visit bitcoinnotbombs.com. Reuters reports President Barack Obama said on Monday that NFL quarterback Colin Kaepernick was exercising his constitutional right by refusing to stand for the national anthem, although he added that the nature of the protest could make it hard for some to hear his message. Kaepernick sparked controversy last month when he remained seated before a preseason football game during the traditional rendition of the Star-Spangled Banner, saying it was a protest against racial injustice and police brutality. During a second game last week, the San Francisco 49er took one knee instead of standing. Many Americans have denounced the gesture as a sign of disrespect to the flag, though he has drawn support from some people, including some fellow players and Megan Rapinoe, a star of the U.S. women's national soccer team. Obama said he had no doubt about Kaepernick's sincerity, but acknowledged that the protest was difficult for some members of the military and law enforcement to swallow. Kaepernick, who led San Francisco to the 2013 Super Bowl but has since been demoted to a backup, is the latest professional athlete to use his celebrity to call attention to the issue of mistreatment of minority groups by law enforcement. Obama, speaking at a news conference, said he had not been following the controversy closely, but added if nothing else, what he's done is he's generated more conversation around some topics that need to be talked about. This has been FPP Radio News, online at fppradio.com.
Could dropping bombs on Afghans without warning from terrifying robot airplanes that fly themselves actually hurt America's efforts to stabilize Afghanistan?
It's complicated. No, not at all. Actually, I think we need to stay the course. You don't change horses midstream, and you don't stop firing missiles from unseen death droids soaring high above the clouds just because a couple of schools get blown up.
We have got to find another way to obliterate this population.
What about flaming bulldozers or 50-foot tall tanks?
Let's do what we can for these civilians. I mean, why not name the drones names Billy or Steve to make them seem less dispassionate?
That is a terrible idea. Billy is a horrible name for a drone.
They're now developing a 40-foot robot that actually looks more like an American soldier and also sprays lasers out of his eyes.
Well, at least that's a step forward.
Hey, look, as long as it fires missiles and bombs with very little accuracy and 0 Americans are at threat, I'm all for it.
Good point.
They should give it funny, floppy arms.
Yes.
Oh, it should spray candy out of its chest a few minutes before it starts shooting everything.
This is the Onion News Network.
Free Talk Live.
It's Free Talk Live. Dial in toll free to join us here at 855-450-FREE. That's 855-450-3733. We've been talking about Burning Man and festivals and kind of how things are changing over the years. Some people, they hate it when things change over time and they become jaded and angry, and some lash out in physical violence, apparently. Destruction of property is what happened at this year's Burning Man. A disturbing story hitting the news in the Telegraph about one particular camp called White Ocean that is, let's call it a wealthier camp than some of the typical campers at a Burning Man festival. They were attacked not physically against other human beings, but the camp itself was vandalized by so-called hooligans. They stole things from the camp. They pulled and sliced the electrical lines, meaning that their food went to waste because they had some refrigeration on the site, and glued the trailer doors shut. They vandalized the camping infrastructure and dumped 200 gallons of potable water, flooding the camp. With you in the studio tonight, you've got Ian here.
Cody.
And Johnson.
So we were talking about, the way things have changed over the years and how some people just, they get frustrated by that. They had a vision for what they thought this event was supposed to be, and then there are people attending. Hey, what do you know? There's 70,000 people there, so some people are going to be of a different, economic strata than you are. And a lot of the hatred towards rich people is, come on, it comes from jealousy, right? I mean, they're jealous. The rich tent probably has more beautiful women hanging out at it. It's closed off, so, you can't get in. There's a security guard outside. It seems like a place where you might want to be, but you can't be there, so you might as well get angry, right?
Yeah. Sucks because people have the things I want. I mean, that's what it boils down to, yeah.
Well, there's all kinds of people. There's all kinds of experiences to have there. It's not like you're really missing out if you can't go into some plush tent with, a fancy chef or whatever. There's still a lot to do at Burning Man, but some people just can't
handle it.
They can't get beyond this. Someone's having an experience that they're not.
Isn't there enough destruction of property going on purpose with you're at Burning Man?
You mean like burning the man and
the big house you were talking about? No, that's not enough. We need to screw with these people's stuff.
Well, they are trying to make it so these people don't feel welcome, right? They want
basically, yeah.
If a bunch of your stuff gets cut up and set on fire or whatever, and you didn't do it on purpose, then you're going to feel like maybe you shouldn't come back next year. That's what they want you to think.
The thing that these people don't realize is that these wealthy people are wealthy enough also to afford security cameras in the future.
Well, right. They apparently did have some security, but not enough.
Security guards that probably were not so good.
Yeah, maybe the security guards were too distracted by Paris Hilton or
cameras
whoever it
don't
was.
Sleep.
Yeah, well, that's true. Now, electricity, on the other hand, would mean you'd have to bring in a generator.
Well, they clearly had electricity.
Yeah, I think they
probably
did.
Don't want to take acid while you're a security guard either.
No.
I mean,
no,
not making any
idea.
assumptions, but...
So anyway, that's sort of where we started the discussion. Cody, you had a story to add in here. There was one guy who wrote a piece about why he's not going back to Burning Man, and you said that part of it sort of stemmed from the idea of things have changed too much.
Yeah.
That there's too many of these richers coming in there with their fancy jets and helicopters, and they're not radically self-reliant enough.
Well, I don't know if I want to speak for him because I haven't seen read the article in a year. But this comes from a guy named Daniel Pinchbeck, who I got into because he wrote this book called Breaking Open the Head, which is, he was an atheist and an author and, kind of felt a void in his life and then got into psychedelics, and it changed him in a lot of ways. And he was big into Burning Man for a while. But from his experiences over the years, he said that there was kind of a change. So he actually wrote this article last year. So It seems to me like this, class warfare type of thing must be ongoing.
Oh, yeah. I imagine the hard feelings have been building up for quite a while, and this year somebody decided to do something about it. And they've been getting some support. One guy said that this is a revolution against the parasite class, which is ridiculous.
Yeah, a little bit, yeah. So he goes, and I'm skipping down a little bit because this is a long article, but he says, as far as Burning Man goes this year, I'm skipping it. There are a few reasons for this, but the main one is that I feel Burning Man, an institution in its own process of ongoing change and evolution, has lost its way. Hopefully, this is temporary because I know and love many of the people who create and run the festival and believe in their intentions and the vision. Burning Man has accomplished amazing things, opening up whole new realms of individual freedom and cultural expression. At the same time, the festival has become a bit of a victim of its own success.
Mm-hmm. Yep,
it's become a massive entertainment complex, a bit like Disney World, for a contingent made up mostly of the wealthy elite. It always had this vibe. I guess that's what he's saying. I don't know.
I've never been, so I can't say for sure. But, how would you really get a feel for that at an event like this where you could barely probably see 20 feet in front of you half the time? Like, how would you really know what most of the people there are like?
Tough to say. And with 70,000 people, there's got to be a variety.
Right. Look, there's a bunch of people that set up tents. Some people have RVs. I kind of touched on this earlier. You need rebar to put a tent in the ground. So there's a real incentive to, save the money up for an RV because at the very least, that's not going to blow away in the wind on you during the middle of the day while you're out. Imagine that. You're out partying at some concert. You come back and your tent's completely gone. It's blown, 2 miles across the playa or something like that. Good luck getting that back. You won't even know where it went to. Now what are you going to do? Now you get to ask other people if you can crash with them in their tent. And so it's not an easy thing to do. If you're tenting it,
spend the rest of your trip there in the orgy tent.
You'd have to give up quite a bit, I think, in that case. But if you're tenting it, I don't think you've got that much money. If you can't afford the RV, you're probably not, pretty well off, would be my guess. And there are people that are tenting it.
Yep.
At Burning Man. But he's saying most of the people are wealthy?
I don't know. Well, this part's interesting. So he says, at Burning Man, there was always a tension between two worldviews there, which I would characterize as a libertarian hedonism and mystical anarchism. I feel
now that's interesting. I've never heard
mystical
anarchism.
I
know about libertarian hedonism.
Yeah.
We've certainly seen that at the Porcupine Freedom Festival.
I imagine mystical anarchism would be more of like a tribalistic, shamanistic. Maybe he'll
something
explain.
Johnson would hate.
Maybe he'll explain. I guess more of the hippie anarchists.
Could be.
Like left versus right libertarianism.
But most people aren't libertarians there. I would say the anarchist
I'm
term.
sure there's plenty of what the real term for that probably is anarcho-syndicalism.
Yeah, he's probably not talking about a libertarian anarchist there.
He might be looking at the whole thing from more of a psychedelic lens, less so than political, but I don't know. He says, I feel as a result of its rapid growth, and also as the festival has become a magnet for the wealthy elite, it has tilted too far towards libertarian hedonism. Art cars have become the new yachts, representing expressions of massively inflated egos. Wealthy camps will drop hundreds of thousands on a vehicle and then parade it around with a velvet rope vibe. Increasingly, the culture of Burning Man feels like an offshoot of the same mindless, self-interested, nihilistic worldview and neoliberal economics.
Way too many adjectives there. Let's try that one again. I want to try. Let me see if I can digest this because I'm not the most educated person. So what was that again?
Okay. Burning Man feels like an offshoot of the same mindless, self-interested, nihilistic worldview.
Mindless, self-interested, nihilistic. So nihilistic, believing in nothing.
Nothing matters.
Mindless and selfish. Okay, got it.
I don't think that nihilistic people are generally all that self-interested, but anyway.
Right, yeah, it seems a little confusing, but all right.
And neoliberal economics that are rapidly annihilating our shared life world.
I don't know what a neoliberal economics is.
I don't know. See, this guy's
neoliberal economics are the people who are just like, meh, everything for free. He's just making fun of the.
Are you sure?
Neoliberal economics.
Okay, I'm gonna have to look that one up.
That's pretty, straightforward in my mind, anyway.
All right, because the guy's complaining about the libertarianism here.
Right, but he's complaining about two camps of people.
It sounds like he's complaining about people parading around expensive floats and vehicles and the art cars and whatnot.
Back it up for that sentence again for the neoliberal economics. Read that whole sentence over again.
Burning Man feels like an offshoot of the same mindless, self-interested, nihilistic worldview and neoliberal economics that are rapidly annihilating our shared life world.
Yeah, that's very contradictory.
Neoliberalism, a political theory of the late 1900s holding that personal liberty is maximized by limiting government interference in the operation of free markets.
Yeah,
okay, interesting.
Okay.
We'll continue here with this in moments on Free Talk Live.
This is a life-changing message for anyone with sleep apnea who is on the go and tired of dragging around a big, bulky home CPAP device. MiniCPAP.com now offers a portable device that's as small as a soda can and weighs less than a pound. For even more freedom, you can add a battery that's as tiny as a deck of cards. It's called the Transcend Mini CPAP, and right now you can try it risk-free for 10 days by calling 1-800-945-9289. Transcend is the world's first portable mini CPAP device. It gives you the freedom to sleep in total comfort anywhere you are. Our smallest and most advanced portable design ever, Transcend is so small and so light you can fit it in your briefcase or purse to use anywhere you go. It's FAA compliant too, so you can even sleep comfortably while flying. Enjoy the freedom to sleep comfortably anywhere. Call minicpap.com now for your 10-day at-home trial. 1-800-945-9289. That's 1-800-945-9289.
Will the government protect your family from Iran and North Korea's newest weapon, EMP? We buy guns to protect ourselves, home, health, and car insurance for accidents. Maybe you also have food storage. But how would you keep your refrigerator running in a long-term EMP blackout? Using tested military designs, the Solarc EMP-hardened solar generator protects and powers your critical appliances for years without burying items underground or wrapping them in aluminum foil. Unlike other preps, Solarc is used every day to help offset your electric bill automatically. Visit PortableSolarLLC.com to learn how easily expandable the system is. Solarc is the most affordable and powerful solution on the market. The whole system even fits in the back of a pickup or SUV and can install in less than an hour. See for yourself why Solarc beats other off-grid systems at PortableSolarLLC.com. Don't wait for the government. Go to PortableSolarLLC.com to learn why Solarc is energy insurance for your family.
Every once in a while, you get information that's worth changing your life for. This is one such time. You can save up to and beyond 25% on all purchases at Amazon. You probably heard of Bitcoin and just not thought much about it. You certainly know that you can get competitive pricing at Amazon, but now you can get a 25% discount on nearly everything you need to live. I've just given you a huge raise, and all you have to do is claim it. You go to saveitpurse.com and open an account. Do this right now. Don't wait. Then you fund the account with Bitcoin. I know this sounds unbelievable, but at my house, we saved as much as 45% off of a new item on Amazon. This information is worth you changing the way you do things. Go to saveitpurse.com right now, get signed up, and cash in on the huge raise I'm offering you. 15 to 25% off of everything at Amazon through saveitpurse.com. It's saveatpurse.com.
For years, LRN.FM has had a listen line that you can call and listen to LRN.FM anytime. Now we're taking the idea to a new level with the LRN.FM audio on demand line. You can call 641-793-9660 anytime and listen to LRN.FM's live feed, and you can listen to a bunch of our original shows on demand. Long distance fees may apply. Just dial 641-793-9660 and choose from the menu. 641-793-9660.
Looking for a great real estate investment? Consider New Hampshire, which is ground zero for the Liberty Movement. Your first call should be to Mark Worden from Porcupine Real Estate. He's more than just a real estate agent. He's your New Hampshire concierge. Where are the best places to live? Do you want farm, city, the burbs, or forest? Do you want a duplex or multifamily building so that renters pay your mortgage? There are homes in all price ranges in New Hampshire, and Mark can help with financing too. Invest in liberty and property. Mark Worden can help.
PorcupineRealEstate.com.
While our satellite channel is free to listen to, it's not free for us. You can help us cover our satellite costs with the chip-in on the right side of the page at LRN.FM.
This is Free Talk Live. We're talking about jaded partygoers, specifically Burning Man. We got an article that Cody is sharing with us about why one guy who's an old school burner, it sounds like, is not going back or did not go back this year. He wrote it last year, presumably. Was he writing it about not going to 2015 or not going to 2016? Do you know?
That I don't know. I think he said he was skipping this year, so I assume it was the last Burning Man.
So 2015. So yeah, 2016 Burning Man just wrapped up yesterday. There was news about some of the folks at a richer camp, some people who are fairly wealthy, had their own camp, sort of a private camp. It was attacked by hooligans who destroyed their property, glued their trailer doors shut, sliced their electrical lines, causing their refrigeration to go down, and them to lose their the food spoiled very quickly in the hot desert sun there. And some people are happy about that. Some people are saying that's it's the beginning of the revolution, that Burning Man is going to be taken back by the poor scabs or whatever. I'm not sure.
The proletariat.
Yeah. And so you can join us with your thoughts here. The toll-free number is 855-450-FREE. Money is generally not acceptable at Burning Man. Of course, you have to have internet to use Bitcoin, but if you were using Bitcoin, at the very least, no one would see you flashing cash around at Burning Man, because apparently it's a no-no to bring money to Burning Man. But of course, if you want to get into Bitcoin, go to Bitcoin.com. It's your premier source for everything Bitcoin related. You can get help buying Bitcoins or choosing a Bitcoin wallet, read the latest news, or engage with the community on the Bitcoin forum. Plus, you can find places to spend your Bitcoin or play online games with the cryptocurrency. The source for all your Bitcoin needs and news, it's Bitcoin.com. So we're in the middle of this piece here where the guy is showing how smart he is by rattling off a bunch of terms. Let's read the terms again, just for listeners who are just now tuning in. I didn't know what neoliberalism was, so I had to go and look it up. But go ahead.
Okay, let me scroll back here because I skipped. It's like I said, it's a long article, I skipped a bunch.
And where's it coming from? Do you happen to remember the website?
His own website, Reality Sandwich.
Okay, got it.
I'm not going to find it. Nihilistic self something.
Okay, yeah. And then he mentioned something about neoliberalism as well. He was frustrated by the different types of, like, he saw like two different types of people that are attending Burning Man. There was the libertarian hedonist, and then the anarchist. What was it?
The mystical anarchist.
Mystical anarchist.
Yes.
That there's this conflict between the two groups.
So I'm going to skip down a little bit to a part I think Johnson will really hate. As I wrote,
I'm already there, buddy. I'm already there.
As I wrote in my books, I believe Burning Man represents an organic expression of something innate to human beingness. We need initiatory experiences, centers where non-ordinary states of consciousness can be explored and also interpreted with a shared context for understanding and integration. Emerging from the psychedelic culture of the Bay Area, Burning Man is to a certain extent a postmodern reinvention of centers of mystery schools of wisdom like Eleusis, where the artists, philosophers, and leaders of the classical world visited each year. However, at this point, it lacks a deeper awareness of its own value and purpose. Without this, it is in danger of becoming another appendage of the military-industrial entertainment complex.
Well, that's an interesting...
Another distraction factory.
So
this guy just sounds like a fool to me, because it's like, no, seriously, he's one of these guys who's constantly, he's trying to, let me show you my vocabulary because I'm not actually really all that smart. Like it's like one of these guys who's like got the thesaurus cracked open, or, just using every possible word to,
So this comes back to the discussion we had a few weeks ago on this Tuesday night episode of Free Talk Live, where you brought in the study that looked at the sort of gobbledygook, what you consider to be gobbledygook nonsense words.
So this is great. It's a great example of that sort of thing. Like, for example, the one of the expressions that he used that I thought was fun is one of these nonsense terms: initiatory experiences.
Yeah,
initiatory experiences, because.
Well, but I think there is something to be gained from
start an you definitely have to initiate that experience to have. I mean, it's like,
well, everybody has a first experience of
garbage language. I mean, it's just useful. It's useless garbage language.
So we're going to come back.
So
to
what
this,
if you call it a psychedelic rite of passage?
Why don't you just call it an experience and stop sounding like a jackass?
Well, I get
I don't
what you're
know.
saying.
Why does the stove in there say preheating when it could just say heating?
So I get where you're coming from. Like, there's a lot of unnecessary verbiage in there, and he's definitely trying to show how special
And I can
he is.
answer that, by the way. You need to bring a stove up to heat so that the food cooks in a certain
Well, I've got a
fashion.
George Carlin bit to show you.
Oh
later.
yeah, that George Carlin bit's hilarious. But I get where he's coming from at the same time. So let me see if I can interpret what it was that he was saying. Because to Johnson, that's just meaningless claptrap.
Yeah.
Whereas you and I might be able to actually understand what it is that he's saying.
I understand what he's saying, but he's just using garbage language to get there. Like it's just he's using nonsense.
He's
terms to
he's
say,
definitely acting highfalutin for sure. Like, yes, he's looking down his nose at these libertarian
It's
hedonists.
not an efficiency of language that these mystical people are using. It's actually a much more inefficient way of communicating.
But what he was saying, so I'm just going to try to translate what I heard you saying, Cody. Tell me if you think I'm wrong on this. What he's saying is his vision for the Burning Man experience was like this place where these psychonaut type people can come, these sort of thought leaders in that area, the artists that are sort of stemming from the use of psychedelics and introspection and all this, could come and sort of join together and get to know one another and create together.
Yeah.
And he's frustrated because he sees it or has seen it becoming just a big hedonistic party. And that's not, in his mind, what the purpose of Burning Man was.
Right. And, I have seen a lot of people who have gotten that thing wrong. Drugs aren't necessarily good or bad, and festivals aren't necessarily good or bad. It's how you, what you do with it, So, yeah, are you going there to try and expand your consciousness, or are you going there just to get loaded and laid, I mean, so so if it's more about showing off, look at all the cool stuff I've got, well, yeah, it is kind of missing the point a little bit.
But that, to some extent, has always been the point, at least in recent years of Burning Man, with these large spectacles. So even if you were to eliminate the, let's go party and have sex aspect, you would still have the, hey, we're showing off aspect. I mean, the structures, the artwork at Burning Man is second to none. I mean, it's incredible. I've never seen it in person, but the photographs are absolutely stunning. I mean, just go ahead and pull up Burning Man art photos, and you will be blown away by the level of artistic capability. I mean, I'm not an art. You're an art major, Johnson, so I'm sure you'd have a real appreciation for it. I'm by no means a trained, art scholar. I really generally don't know much about it, but I know, you like what you like, right? You see something, you like it or you don't. And there's really some amazing, intricate, well-designed, thought-provoking, and just mind-blowing kind of artwork at this event. And that's absolutely we're showing off our ability kind of thing. Otherwise, it'd just be some guy with a paintbrush or whatever.
One man who I would almost have to assume goes to Burning Man every year is Alex Gray, visionary artist. He'll take DMT and he will paint what he sees in that place. Man, if you haven't seen Alex Gray's art, totally worth it.
I think I've seen some of it. Very psychedelic kind of stuff. There's more. Is there more to this story that you want to share of the guy who's burned out on Burning Man?
The gist, I mean, it's not going to get any better, but yes, there is.
Well, I kind of enjoy the grousing. It's interesting to hear the perspective of somebody who he feels like the event's gone wrong. Now, the nice thing about events is you can always make your own. It's Free Talk Live. We're coming up.
By now you know that wireless technology like cell phones do in fact pose dangers to the health and privacy of everyone. Block-It Pocket's wide range of products are unmatched in providing the protection you deserve. No scare tactics, just common sense. BlockItPocket.com offers quality American-made options to alleviate and eliminate these invisible dangers. Learn more at BlockItPocket.com or call 888-315-9618. BlockItPocket.com, enhancing health and privacy.
Hunters, anglers, campers, and survivalists. Get back to nature. Expand your horizons with the highest quality, most versatile, unique slingshots and sling bows on the market at slingbow.com. Slingbow products are compact and models start from just $17.98. They're perfect for your bug out bag or storing in your vehicle. Give yourself and your loved ones the excitement and tradition of Slingbow. A new frontier in archery and truly modern twist on this primitive survival tool. Feel the thrill only at slingbow.com.
Money, power, and respect are all yours at CreditSuccessSecretsRevealed.com. Be seen as an industry leader. You can do it. The last application you filled out when it was time to hit submit Did your nerves spike? You didn't get the approval you seek, but there's a better way. We teach you exactly what to place into the right systems the right way the first time so you get approved. Get up to $100,000 in instant business credit. Many people will get cash on the spot. Use those two tools in your new corporate credit engine so you can walk into the bank and get your project funded today. It's all about today at CreditSuccessSecretsRevealed.com. Credit Success Secrets Revealed is explosive and ignites instant results. Dial 1-800-707-8719. That's 1-800-707-8719. 1-800-707-8719. Or just go to CreditSuccessSecretsRevealed.com.
Are you tired of governments murdering people around the world? Stop using their money. There is an alternative. Bitcoin is a stateless, free market, non-political currency. Bitcoin cannot be inflated or controlled by any government. By using their money, you are helping the state. You have an incredible alternative available now. Learn it, use it, spread it. Get started with Bitcoin at Bitcoin.com. That's Bitcoin.com.
The three most important things you can do for Free Talk Live are: 1, share one episode a week on Facebook or in some other social networking site. 2, buy the things you buy online through shop.freetalklive.com. 3, give $5 a month to the AMP program. You likely buy all kinds of things online. Amazon is the largest online retailer. You can get what you need at the same prices with free Super Saver shipping by going to shop.freetalklive.com. Please do your online shopping at shop.freetalklive.com.
Understanding your credit score is the first step towards managing and improving it. This is Charlie Sundstrom with your Van Dyke Mortgage Minute. The most influential component of your credit score is your payment history. Almost equally as important is the amount you owe on credit accounts. Also impacting your score, but to a lesser degree, are the length of time you've utilized your credit, the number of new accounts, credit inquiries, and your various types of credit accounts. To help achieve or maintain a healthy credit score, have a system set up to assure your bills are always paid on time. Don't max out your cards. It's better to have a high credit limit with a low balance. Never close old accounts. The age of these can actually help your credit score. But don't be afraid to use your credit. You need several accounts in order to have a credit score. Just keep the corresponding payments within your means. For your mortgage pre-approval and refi needs, start by visiting VanDykeMortgage.com.
Corporate NMLS 3035. Van Dyke Mortgage is an equal housing lender. Charlie Sundstrom, NMLS 134251.
Do you love Twitter? Make sure you favorite the LRN.FM Twitter account so you can receive our tweets at twitter.lrn.fm. That's twitter.lrn.fm.
It is Free Talk Live, and you can bring up anything you want here. The toll-free number is 855-450-FREE. That's 855-450-3733. We can return to more Burning Man discussion here in moments. With you in the studio tonight, you've got me, Ian.
Cody.
And Johnson.
We've got Skype. Our Skype username is LRN.FM. We're going to go to your calls and thoughts here. But first, I also want to let you know about how you can listen on demand, Free Talk Live, over your phone, any phone, dumb phone, smartphone, landline, as long as you can dial a long-distance number. Now, keep in mind, if you have to pay for long distance, that could be a problem. But if you've got unlimited long distance, then you're going to be good to go. With this phone number, it's 641-793-9660. You can listen to Free Talk Live as well as a bunch of other great LRN.FM shows, including Off the Air Live, which is Cody's show.
Yep.
So available on demand for you anytime you want them. Just dial 641-793-9660. And one of the perks of this is that if you have a smartphone, but you've got a limited data plan, well, this doesn't use any data. So it's a way for you to get our thoughts and our ideas and our shows into your ears without actually having to pay for anything. Again, so long as you got free long distance, you're good to go. Call it up at 641. That's 641-793-9660. You can listen to the LRN.FM live feed. You can listen to shows on demand. You can also leave a message for us as well. So if you aren't able to call into the show live, well, then you can just leave a message there, and we'll consider playing it on the radio. Once again, that number, 641-793-9660, for the audio on-demand listen line. As we go to Greg, he's in New York. Greg, you're on Free Talk Live. Go ahead.
How you doing?
Hey there.
Yeah, I wanted to make a follow-up to my call last week. You remember I called in talking about how paying rent to the co-op is similar to sort of paying taxes to a state, and we went back and forth about it. I think I came up with a better example. When you have a business and you want to do business in a state, like let's say New Hampshire, then that state might require you to pay taxes from that business's activity. And I say that that's similar to putting your store inside a mall and paying rent to the mall because, you're free not to do it. But if you do it, the jurisdiction, the mall could tell you to pay rent. So I think those two things are very similar. They're just different in scale. That's kind of my point.
Well, except for the fact that one is an explicit contract and the other one is a make-believe contract called a social contract, where the social contract is whatever it is they say it is, anytime they say it is. They can change the terms anytime they want to. A contract that you get into for a rental is very explicit, that has the terms written out, and if you don't like the terms, then you don't get into that agreement. So no,
Right.
while I understand where you're coming from, it's not at all the same.
Right. The mall survives by voluntarily selling products to people who want to come to the mall to buy them, whereas the state survives by stealing money from people at gunpoint. There's a little bit of a difference there.
Well, there's two objections here. One is the gunpoint objection. So you're saying that the state uniquely employs violence and no other organization would employ violence.
I'm saying the mall doesn't employ violence.
No. The mall will employ violence against you if you violate your agreement.
Not to take
Right.
money from you to support itself.
That's the difference. Is the state uses initiatory violence. The state will initiate aggression against people, whereas the mall will only defend itself with violence if necessary.
I'm just saying I think that distinction is not correct. The mall contracts with people with guns, whether it would be a private security forces or whether it would be
So they're forcing people to
city.
buy products at the mall? When was the last time you went into a mall and they said, you're going to buy this or else?
I'm not likening you to a customer. I am saying that you are a store owner.
But
that
the mall,
has
how does
permission
the
of
mall survive?
It collects rent from the tenants in the mall.
And how do the tenants get their money? They're taking their money from people.
However
right?
they
They're
like
ta-
to.
They're forcing them to buy their products.
No one is forcing anybody. But
Oh,
neither
interesting,
is a
because the
business-
state seems to force people to buy their products. They say, you have to come do this, or we're going to steal from you, or we're going to throw you in a cage, or we're going to kill you if you don't comply.
Hold on. Wouldn't you agree that the proper analogy is that the mall forces the tenants to pay rent and the state forces the businesses to pay
No.
taxes?
Tenants make the choice.
But
Tenants make the choice to be in the mall, whereas the people
Businesses
who
make a choice to be in the state.
No, they don't.
Most people never make a choice to be in a state. They're born there.
Right, and they
But
live
the
somewhere.
business.
Yeah, and
But the business,
who's
you don't have
born in a mall? Nobody's born in a mall. It's a completely different scenario.
No, if I choose to run a business, on a piece of land or whatever, I don't want the state involved. I want nothing to do with
Right.
them.
The state's going to get involved, though. If you try to open up a business on your own, what you think is your property, they're going to come in there with men with guns and say, Mr. Johnson, you didn't get your permits here. You need to come and beg from us.
But regardless of
it
what
doesn't
you're
even
saying,
matter if it's a lemonade stand; they'll
but
take it down.
regardless of what you're saying there, like even if I were to judge the fairness of that part of the analogy and say, okay, people are making a choice, which is ridiculous on its face, but let's say people are making a choice to be in a state just in the same way that they're making the choice to be in the mall. Let's say that that's the fairest part of your analogy. The part that you're not getting is that the mall is surviving by offering goods and services, whereas the state is surviving by forcing people to accept its goods and services at the point of a gun.
Whether they like them or not, whether they want them or not.
Right. Whether they want them or not, and whether or not, the charging for these things, whether or not they use them or not.
I'm saying that you're free to leave any state. Or
That's
any
false.
I
city
knew
that's
that
false.
was coming.
That's
I knew
false. You are not.
I knew that was coming.
You're
No,
not
it's-
free to
listen,
leave the state. The state will charge you if you want to try to leave it. The state will demand obedience if you want to try to leave
Are you
it.
saying the mall will not charge you rent that you owe it if you leave the mall? It will not go after you.
You owe
There's no
the mall
harm?
rent. Sir, you owe the mall rent because you agreed to pay the rent. You do not owe the state
okay.
because there is no actual agreement between you and the state. There's only men with guns who will force you into paying the state. You never
So when you
actually...
go to-
Being born somewhere should not obligate someone to a set of rules that they've never read or have any agreement with.
Well, being born, so there's a distinction here. If you go to France, let's say, and you go through customs and immigration, you have to sign papers. And, you know, if you want to make that explicit, you can. If you're talking about being born, right, that's where the scale comes in. There's very few people that are born inside a co-op and then their parents die, and then doesn't mean they can live rent-free because they've never signed an explicit agreement, right? So if you look at that scenario, you'll see that the problem is not about being born. It's just that it rarely happens in a smaller organization. If it did, you'd have the same problem.
Why does an organization like the state have to provide services where it forces people? Why can't people voluntarily choose to use certain services? What's wrong with that? What's wrong with, say, having, you know, a police service or a fire department or roads that are built by people who actually use them and want to pay for them?
There's nothing wrong with that. In fact, many organizations do exactly that.
So why does the state have to rely on violence? Non-stop violence, constantly.
Because every organization relies on violence. It just happens that the police are
that's pretty sad.
employed by the city. Well, yeah. I mean, if you don't pay your rent, your co-op or your mall will still resort to violence. Private property doesn't eliminate violence.
Nobody said that.
In most cases,
it's just
that's
another
not
form.
really true.
Nobody said
the mall has no actual authority to use any violence whatsoever.
They do if you have somebody on your property. Hold on.
They can remove somebody from the property, but not to collect the rent.
No, I agree with you there. But ultimately, they have to use. If you're not paying the rent, they'll have to use violence if you don't leave.
They'll use the violence of the state.
Well, that's because the state has a monopoly on it. But otherwise, they would be able to use some sort of private enforcer that could come in there and clean out the area. But again, the key difference that you continue to just brush off, Greg, is the fact that people are not consenting to the state's violence. They're not consenting to an agreement that says, I will do this in return for this. In the mall, you agree to that. You're under a lease. You're under however many years lease, which says that in return for however many thousands of dollars a month in rent, that you'll get the service of having, you know, the air conditioning, the heating, the security, the bathrooms being cleaned, and, you know, all the other things that a mall and the marketing that the mall would provide.
And a mall will actually also listen if you think that any of those things are subpar and need to be changed or improved or, you know,
correct.
Whatever.
Guys, I don't want to brush over anything. I want to directly address exactly what you said. And, you know, when you move into a mall, you choose to situate your store there. Of course, it's a choice. You don't have to open a store. You don't have to go to that particular mall. But the same way, I don't have to open an LLC in a state. I don't have. No one's holding a gun to my head saying I have to have my LLC do business in the state of California. If I do, however, I'm saying it's the same situation, just in a larger scale.
You don't need an LLC to do business. You'll just be able to open up your front door. Thanks for the call, Greg. It's Free Talk Live.
All right, listen up, because this is the most important thing you're going to hear all day. What if I said you could make money flipping houses without any cash, credit, or manual labor? And what if I said you could do it part-time from the comfort of your home? Sound unflippin' believable? Hi, I'm Preston Neely, and I'm going to prove it by sending you a free copy of my smash hit selling book, How to Get Rich in Real Estate. It sells online for $19.95, but I'm giving away free copies this week. To get one before they're gone, call 1-800-960-4295. I used to be so broke, I had my electricity shut off 9 times, but I figured out a simple way to make money flipping houses without even breaking a sweat. Now I'm living the good life, and so should you. Listen, if you're sick and tired of stressing about money, this book could change your life. Hands down, it's the fastest, easiest way to get started in real estate. Let me prove it. Call right now to find out how to get your free book. When they're gone, they're gone. Call 1-800-960-4295. 1-800-960-4295.
Have you checked your Google search results lately? Search results are usually the first impression that people form of you or your business. So make sure that they create a positive impression with ReputationDefender.com. What the internet says about you can have a big impact on your life and your livelihood, even if it's not true. Fortunately, you can now control how you look online and in online search results with ReputationDefender.com. Call 800-831-0771 now. That's 800-831-0771 for your free reputation analysis. If you have negative material from an ex-employee, upset patient, or former client, newspaper article, legal issue, social media, or other source showing up in your search results, you can combat it with ReputationDefender.com. Our dedicated experts in patented technology can help make your online search results look their best. Call 800-831-0771 to learn more. 800-831-0771. That's 800-831-0771. Or visit ReputationDefender.com.
the Free State Project has reached its goal of 20,000 liberty lovers who've pledged to move to New Hampshire and get active to achieve liberty in our lifetime. Perhaps you're trying to figure out what part of New Hampshire should be your destination. If so, consider Keene. You'll find more than 150 reasons to move to Keene at move.freekeene.com. Keene is famous for its historic, publicity-generating activism, as well as being the liberty media capital of the world. It's home to freekeene.com, New Hampshire's destination for liberty activism, news, and opinion. For years, we've been compiling over 150 reasons to move to Keene at move.freekeene.com, where you'll learn about some of what's happening here and what makes Keene a great place to live. If you love liberty, you'll probably enjoy anywhere you end up in the Shire. But do your due diligence first. Please visit move.freekeene.com for the full list of over 150 reasons to move to Keene. That's move.freekeene.com. If you want to know the latest about Free Talk Live before we go on the air, all you need to decide is how you want it delivered. It's your choice. Visit news.freetalklive.com. You can get emailed announcements and participate in contests via our email updates list. Plus, we have a Twitter account that you can follow and a Facebook page where you can become a fan. So visit news.freetalklive.com to get news about Free Talk Live as soon as it's announced and the way you want it delivered at news.freetalklive.com. That's news.freetalklive.com.
In Survivor Max 2, School Bites, Max must scavenge through a wasteland swarming with the undead. Desperate to find the medicine he needs, he discovers a community of survivors at his former school. Has he finally found the safe haven he's been looking for, or will he discover that school bites? Look for Survivor Max on Facebook, read reviews on Amazon, and read Chapter 1 at survivormax.com.
If you enjoy LRN.FM, please contribute to your favorite shows via their websites and become an amplifier at amp.lrn.fm. That's amp.lrn.fm.
This is Free Talk Live. Bring up anything you want. Dial in toll free here, 855-450-FREE. That's 855-450-3733. We've got Skype. Our Skype username is LRN.FM, so feel free to join us there. The discussion, and before we get back to our next call, I wanted to comment just a little bit further on this idea that the state is somehow no different than a shopping mall. And that is what was suggested by our last caller, Greg, in New York. And he was saying, well, you know, it's no different. You're getting a lease from a mall versus ordering an LLC from the state. Well, okay, I get the argument that if you ask the state for some sort of legal protection, that, yeah, okay, you're getting into a contract with them. Sure, that's true.
Being born is not a contract. And look, I years ago tried to find my social contract so I could rip it up, and I realized it didn't exist.
It does not exist. No.
Yeah.
It's just a fantasy. It's a fantasy that allows people like Greg to ignore the violence that's being used against peaceful people. And so, sure, if you ask for the state's permission to do something, then you shouldn't be surprised when they come back with a set of rules for you.
Yep.
But in a free place, now we don't have this, but in a free place, you shouldn't have to ask anyone's permission to do something. If you really own something, and Greg would actually argue that you don't, and that's actually one of his strongest arguments, is that, in point of fact, none of this is actually private property, and it's all just owned by the state, and we're just, vassals or serfs on the land. I think that's probably the strongest argument. But if indeed this is supposed to be a free place, which is what most of us were told when we were growing up, it's a free country. You can do what you want. As long as you don't hurt anybody else. Sounds great. Well, then I should be able to open up my door and start a home-based business. Well, guess what? In most places, without asking for an LLC, without going down and begging permission from some state agent, so again, no contract. I'm not contracting with anyone from the state. I just want to start, selling some product from my home or cutting hair, providing a service of some sort from my home because it's expensive to go into a mall. You want to get a mall store? You're looking at $3,000, $4,000. I don't know how many thousands of dollars per month for a relatively small, piece of property that you can then sell stuff from. So you're better off selling from your home. Some people would love to cook in their home for other people and make a little bit of money off of that. Maybe make enough money to pay for their own food or pay a little bit of the power bill or something like that. But it's illegal to do that in most places. If you start running a home-based business in most towns in America, once the government gets wind of it, it might go for a little while if you're just servicing your friends who aren't going to snitch you out. But eventually somebody who's got the permit from in town, some competing business who, has asked the government's permission to do business, they're going to find out that you exist, and they're going to call up their buddies in the government and say, hey, there's somebody making food in their house. They don't like that. We've paid for an expensive license from you guys, and that includes protection. So you need to go in there and stop those people from making food in their own kitchen for their own friends and neighbors, because that's illegal. This is why we have the health code and permits and all this other nonsense. So no, you don't have the freedom to just do your own thing.
Well, I mean, who do you think it is that is most likely to call the FCC over a pirate radio station?
The other radio stations. Right. We already know that's what happened here in Keene when we had one of the pirate stations here. Local radio stations called the FCC and complained about it. Why? Because they've been abused, and they want everybody else to be abused too. Everybody
Stockholm
else.
syndrome.
That's exactly what it is. People, that are basically coming to respect their abusers and identify with the abusers. It's sick, and it's sad that somebody could possibly look at at a shopping mall and compare that to the state, and to act as though they are one and the same, even though the state uses initiatory force, it uses the threat of violence. And if you don't believe that's true, then just try starting to live free. Go ahead, try starting your own business without asking any state agent's permission to do it, and see what happens. See how many months you can go for before you get the knock at the door or the threatening letter arriving in your mailbox, because it will come. The toll-free number tonight is 855-450-FREE. That's 855-450-3733. Let's bring Socrates on the line. He's calling from New Hampshire and on Skype.
Well, what's up, guys?
Hey.
I wanted to get back into that conversation that Johnson mentioned when you were talking about Burning Man. Cody was reading it. Yeah, Cody was reading the article and mentioned neoliberalism. And you read the definition of, ironically, of classical liberalism. And this kind of ironically relates to today. You have Gary Johnson turning the word libertarian into progressive Democrat, right? I mean, if you honestly rank the quote unquote progressives versus Gary Johnson, you'll notice that Gary Johnson is arguably more in line. What do you think?
You're saying Gary Johnson, the Libertarians' presidential candidate, is more of a progressive than he is a libertarian?
Yes, and so this is just based on what he said recently. So you have three candidates. One supports what Gary Johnson called the IPP, which is really the TPP, the Trans-Pacific Partnership. That's strike one against libertarianism. You can't have a secret trade agreement with corporations and have individual liberty, kind of the antithesis of that.
Okay.
Second, he supports this is a quote, a libertarian alternative to global warming. Well, he implements a fee. Now, I've never heard of a fee that's a libertarian on carbon.
Right.
So
Carbon
it's not
tax,
a tax, it's a fee on carbon. Now, I'd like to see how that's a libertarian solution, but he said it in the same sentence. Third, not all lives don't matter. He said that's offensive. And fourth, he said the word illegal immigrant is now offensive, and that he will implement the word police and jail people that are quote unquote that are wearing burqas on the street. And he's just not libertarian in any sense of the word. He's worse than Bob Barr.
How is but how is putting somebody in a jail cell for burqa wearing progressive?
Because progressives promote the idea of forced secularism. I guess you could say France has burkini bans, right?
Oh, I see what you're saying.
And so they want to promote this quote-unquote secular ideology.
So you're saying this guy was a Republican, a Republican governor who's now become a progressive and has gotten nominated by the Libertarian Party through the assistance of other Republicans. That's kind of weird, huh?
Absolutely, yeah. And obviously, I mean, it's as much as Mitt Romney would be considered a Republican today, right? I mean, you look at Mitt Romney's platform, you look at Barack Obama's platform. I mean, it's kind of hard to see which one is actually more libertarian because they're kind of the same. And I argue Jerry Johnson's around par with those two.
You know, I wish if Daryl were here, he could give us an excerpt from, I think it was Gary Johnson's bio or something on his website, where basically he admits he has no principles. He just, like, it literally is in print that Gary Johnson himself has basically said, yeah, I have no principles. I'm just kind of doing this because I'm not Hillary and I'm not Trump.
I thought the Libertarian Party has the platform focused around the non-aggression principle. Is that still the case? Okay, yeah, I've never seen somebody completely disregard it and throw it up in the wind, right?
That's
and
while
talking about it, he throws out terms like, I mean, it's especially annoying when he throws out these loaded terms such as, like, he's liberal on some issues, right, and he's conservative on some issues. But the most annoying is when he'll call Trump a racist. I mean, no offense. You can probably think Trump is a racist, but I do not want to hear a libertarian candidate, who was supposed to be focused on the non-aggression principle, just talking about just blanket racism of another candidate. It's really embarrassing to see how low
he's playing into what they want him to talk about. Right?
He called Hillary Clinton an honorable public servant, quote unquote. What is that? Like, this guy is not a libertarian.
And his vice presidential candidate, Bill Weld, went even further and basically said he was buddies with Hillary Clinton.
Oh, one more thing on Bill Weld. Okay, fun quote for Bill Weld, right? He's a very, very pro firearm because he said, anything that, a military firearm is anything that has over 5 rounds, a rifle with over 5 rounds, right? That's military. And he said we have to watch out and we have to remove semi-automatics because any rifle that has more than 5 rounds in it, you can remove the clip. This is what he said. Remove the clip, and it becomes automatic. Now, that is the worst distortion of understanding a basic firearm. Yeah. Never mind advocating the banning of it. And this is the Libertarian Party. I mean,
it's sad.
It's ironic.
It really is sad. Thanks for calling and sharing your thoughts tonight, Socrates. I appreciate it. Yeah, I mean, I can't get behind the LP. I really can't. They're sad.
It makes sense what they're doing. They're trying to appeal to the Bernie people because they know that they're floating, and some of them may not vote for Hillary.
Maybe they should have sent Gary Johnson to Burning Man. We'll come back around to more of that discussion here, and your calls and thoughts are also welcome. Our toll-free number is 855-450-FREE. That's 855-450-3733. Plus, Johnson has a story. Speaking of guns, right? Don't you have a gun-related story? We'll get into that coming up here. Hour number 3 is on the way. This is Free Talk Live.
For Bitcoin to be ubiquitous, people need to use it. For people to use it, they must have it. How can we get Bitcoin into more hands? Well, tipping might be a great way. What if you could include a bonus Bitcoin tip along with your regular tip to a server? What if that Bitcoin returned to you if unclaimed after 30 days? An attractive business card-sized Bitcoin tip that is easily claimed, gives instructions on wallets, spending, and returns to the user if unused? Tip.freetalklive.com. Tip.freetalklive.com.
Here's a good idea. When you have a legal matter like creating your will or legally setting up a business with a corporation or LLC, you don't necessarily need a law firm. Use LegalZoom.com. At LegalZoom.com, you answer straightforward questions online, and they take care of the rest. They even review your answers for common mistakes and guarantee your satisfaction. Free Talk Live listeners, you'll get 10% off your order by typing in FTL in the referral box at purchase. Don't procrastinate with these important legal documents. LegalZoom.com.
I love My Magic Mud. I drink a lot of coffee. I had stains on my teeth. Then I found My Magic Mud, and I was told it would remove stains. So I paid attention when I brushed the first time. My Magic Mud is black tooth powder, and the difference it made in my teeth in one application was noticeable. With 4, my teeth were as white as you normal folks out there. Please go to mymagicmud.com and buy a jar. There's 150 applications for $25. You can use Bitcoin, mymagicmud.com. Here's a chance to do a little activism while you're cruising Facebook, Twitter, or Google+. Between the LOL cats, the recipes, the hot girls, and the inspirational sunrise memes, Free Talk Live's posts pass by your newsfeed. Like them. Comment. It gives us more exposure. If you don't see our posts, click like at facebook.freetalklive.com and then hover over it to click Get Notifications. It's an easy way to spread the ideas of liberty a bit further. I know you're busy, but you can spare that tenth of a calorie it takes to click on something. facebook.freetalklive.com.
You're listening to the live edition of Free Talk Live. Hour number 3 is next after the news here on the Liberty Radio Network at LRN.FM.
From Keene in the Shire, the Liberty Media capital of the world, this is Daryl W. Perry, host of FPP Radio News for Tuesday, September 6th, 2016. Silver is trading at $19.59 per ounce. Gold is valued at $1,335 per ounce. And according to BitcoinAverage.com, the average price of Bitcoin is $613. Antiwar.com reports 3 bombings were reported on Monday in the Afghan capital city of Kabul in the area around the defense ministry. The first blast was a remote-triggered IED, which gathered security forces in the area and led to a major suicide attack in the same area. A third blast, described as a car bombing, was reported shortly thereafter, and locals reported hearing gunfire from the area around the embassy district, though officials have yet to confirm any of the shootings. All told, at least 30 people were killed and 91 wounded. Security forces appear to have borne a significant portion of the casualties in the attack, with one of the city's district police chiefs reportedly among the slain in the bombings. The Taliban claimed a much higher death toll, saying they killed 58 officers and commanders in the strike. Afghan President Ashraf Ghani issued a statement attempting to downplay the incident, suggesting that the Taliban attacks proved that they had lost their ability to fight the security forces. Despite this, there is still very much such fighting ongoing, with the Taliban still controlling substantial territory nationwide. For nearly 40 years, Roberts & Roberts Brokerage has been a trusted source for buying and selling precious metals like gold and silver. They also take Bitcoin for precious metal purchases and have permanently removed the minimum purchase amount for all orders paid in the digital currency. Call Roberts & Roberts today for knowledgeable advice on buying and selling precious metals and a forward-thinking approach to new technologies. 800-874-9760 or visit online at rrbi.co. UPI reports a neighborhood in South Florida was rocked Monday afternoon when police found 3 bodies inside a house after being called by neighbors to check on the residents. Police were investigating the deaths of a father, his adult son, and the father's girlfriend, whom they discovered after neighbors called 911, and are investigating a heinous act, though no details of the scene have yet been released. Mourners slowly lined the street near the house as news spread to family and members of the victim's church, and were being comforted and helped by officers on the scene. Lauderhill Police Lieutenant Greg Solowski told the Sun Sentinel, "This is going to be a long investigation. All of my detectives are out here working 100%. Police received a 911 call around 2 p.m. on Monday to check on the house near the Northwest 3rd Street and 38th Avenue and discovered bodies inside the house upon arrival. Detectives said they were unsure how long the deceased had been there and did not release any details about how they died or if they are searching for suspects, though Solowski noted there is no immediate threat to the public. The Broward Sheriff's Office was called in to assist with the investigation, and an update on the situation is expected sometime Tuesday. FPP Radio News is brought to you by Bitcoin Not Bombs. Bitcoin Not Bombs is a launching pad for nonprofits and social entrepreneurs into the financial freedom of the Bitcoin economy. Bitcoin Not Bombs offers premium publicity campaigns designed to facilitate an organization's adoption of Bitcoin as a payment system and to fully capitalize on that decision in their fundraising efforts. Bitcoin Not Bombs is fully committed to being the hub of the nonprofit sector of the Bitcoin economy, maximizing the potential cross-promotion of all our clients and commercial partners. To learn more, visit bitcoinnotbombs.com. Reuters reports President Barack Obama said on Monday that NFL quarterback Colin Kaepernick was exercising his constitutional right by refusing to stand for the national anthem, although he added that the nature of the protest could make it hard for some to hear his message. Kaepernick sparked controversy last month when he remained seated before a preseason football game during the traditional rendition of the Star-Spangled Banner, saying it was a protest against racial injustice and police brutality. During a second game last week, the San Francisco 49er took one knee instead of standing. Many Americans have denounced the gesture as a sign of disrespect to the flag, though he has drawn support from some people, including some fellow players and Megan Rapinoe, a star of the U.S. women's national soccer team. Obama said he had no doubt about Kaepernick's sincerity, but acknowledged that the protest was difficult for some members of the military and law enforcement to swallow. Kaepernick, who led San Francisco to the 2013 Super Bowl but has since been demoted to a backup, is the latest professional athlete to use his celebrity to call attention to the issue of mistreatment of minority groups by law enforcement. Obama, speaking at a news conference, said he had not been following the controversy closely, but added if nothing else, what he's done is he's generated more conversation around some topics that need to be talked about. This has been FPP Radio News, online at fppradio.com.
Inclement weather prevents a liar from getting to work, and a lunchbox is mostly medication. Sources across the nation impatiently reported today that the 24-hour news cycle seemed to be taking forever, telling reporters that the continuous coverage from MSNBC, CNN, and other news sources was simply not continuous enough. Frustrated Americans demanded more panel coverage, around-the-clock bulletins, and breaking reactions from Twitter.
It's like, sure, I have 5 channels of unending news updates constantly flooding my screen, but each one of those only has one slow-moving news ticker. Why not 3 or 4 running at triple speed? Honestly, these networks need to understand that I can't just wait around all day for minute-by-minute coverage.
And in this week's science news, a new report finds that lake ice grows safer to venture out on with each beer consumed. In other news, the beauty industry announces a new initiative to make women self-conscious about their palms. A beautiful cinnamon bun is too good for this world, too pure. And a picky eater is 38.
This is the Onion News Network.
Free Talk Live.
It's Free Talk Live, launching into the third hour of this edition of the show. We're live every single night, of course. You can join us live right here toll free at 855-450-FREE. That's 855-450-3733. We've also got Skype at Skype username LRN.FM. You know, it's interesting. We just happened to be talking about guns a few moments ago, and Johnson, you have a post from Facebook by former host of Free Talk Live,
right.
Brian Sovereign, that you want to share that's related to guns. We're going to get into that, but first, Dodger is on the line in Michigan. And by the way, it's Ian, Cody, and Johnson in the studio here with you. Dodger, go ahead. You're on Free Talk Live.
Well, gentlemen, first off, I'm very proud to work under the table job where I don't have to pay taxes. So,
excellent.
That's the reason I also don't share my real name here on the air. But really, when I was listening to Greg, and obviously he's a listener of the show, as am I, and if he hasn't really caught the ideas of liberty by now and what a true libertarian believes, all right, I'm going to use his analogy against him. Now, have you gentlemen ever seen the movie Mallrats?
Yes.
It's been several years since I've seen it, but I have seen it.
I would consider myself quite the berserker.
I'm gonna use his little mall analogy against him, if you don't mind.
Okay, just so you know, let's recap briefly. Greg is a caller, fairly regular caller from New York, at least regular enough to be memorable, and he constantly argues basically that the state is no different than a landlord. The state is no different. In this case, his argument tonight was the state is no different than a mall, that you are getting services from a mall in return for a rent, and the same thing's true of the state. That's kind of in a nutshell what he was arguing. Go ahead.
All right, so now I'm going to use his arguments against him, if you don't mind.
Okay.
Now, first off, in the movie Mallrats, when there's Brody and T.S., and they at some point they leave the mall to go visit the crappy mall across the city, and so I want to throw this out. First off, imagine all the malls are crappy. So, and that's how I view the state, because the idea of the state is crappy. Now, some are less crappy than others. Some, have a little more to offer than others. But for the most part, imagine all malls are crappy.
We really need to make this mall great again.
Anyway, so now, first off, all your customers, they must not only live and work in the mall. So not only are you forced to keep this, pay this rent to this landlord, but all of your customers, you have to employ your customers, and they're only allowed to buy your services and goods because the mall has given them permission to, and they're not allowed to leave the mall. And I'm not done there yet. Let's say that you decide to leave the mall and go open up business for yourself. Well, guess what? You have to pay a whole bunch of money, and you have to go to another crappy mall. You have to go to another crappy mall. You're not allowed to just open up on the side of the road. No, you have to go to another crappy mall and pay whatever rent and accept their services. For me, it just baffles my mind that somebody can actually listen to this show for any length of time and not catch this concept to where you cannot compare the free market with the state, or maybe in his mind, when he thinks the state, he thinks, New Hampshire versus California. Maybe he doesn't understand that when we talk about the state, we talk about any government, period.
Yeah, and imagine if people, who are being forced to live in this mall, all decide to get together and they vote and they change the economic structure of the mall away from capitalism. And then you have these ridiculously long lines at the autonomous units for mid-mall snacking, and all you're going to get is bread.
If you're lucky.
Yes. And so, yeah. I just don't understand how, and that's why I figured, that I'd call and use his own analogy against him, and I hope that he hears this and understands how his analogy really, it just doesn't fit.
Yeah, I think you made it.
Apples to oranges.
Yeah, I think you did a good job there, and of course we've tried to. Greg's probably called the show for 2 or 3 years off and on, and always comes back.
I've heard of his, some of his previous calls, and he tries to argue the landlord versus government relationship, and it's always comparing apples to oranges because, in the free market we have a choice, whereas, assuming that we actually had a free market, and when you're talking about the government, you don't have a choice. You're beholden to whatever they decide, and I really hope that he hears.
Well, his claim there is that
I'm sure that he'll call it.
Well, his claim there is that you always have the choice to go to another government, which is you kind of brought that up where you pointed out, well, yeah, you can go to another crappy mall where there's a bunch of another bunch of rules and bad managers and people that are forcing bad ideas.
Not to mention the security guards just randomly shoot people for not doing anything wrong.
Security guards are raping and shooting and breaking into the stores. Yeah, I mean it's just. Go ahead.
It makes no sense to me. That's all.
Well, okay, so I guess the question has to be is why would someone stay in the position they are? I mean, because to you, it's bewildering how he could hear the ideas of freedom and reject them so soundly over and over again. And, I could speculate, and maybe the next time Greg calls in, we'll have to ask him this. Maybe he works for the state. Maybe he is justifying the organization for which he is feeding off of, or maybe the state is paying for his education or something like that he's in some way benefiting from the state. And so, therefore, it's in his interest to continue propagating the idea of the state. And maybe that's what it all comes down to. Maybe it's something simple like that.
Maybe it is, but I mean, the very first time that I heard Free Talk Live, and I will honestly say that listening to the ideas that you guys brought up is what actually caused me to rack my brain and realize, wait a minute, I think that I agree with this stuff. And, a little while later, I'm like, well, this stuff just makes sense. But, I mean, I was a hard lefty. But when I started, I came from the left. I was all about the civil freedoms, but I'm also like, well, this government is spending too much money, but, I care more about smoking pot. Well, at the time, I was considerably younger then. I'm like, I care more about smoking pot and the government leaving me alone in my bedroom. But now I realize that economic freedom and social freedom go hand in hand. You can't have one without the other.
Generally we don't do this on Free Talk Live, and that is to take a second call from the same person. But Greg has appeared to have called back in. So I'm going to let the board op know that it's fine. We can take Greg here because I think it would be interesting to have him respond directly to you rather than us just saying, Great points. So I'm going to give Greg that shot here. Let's bring him on. Since you summoned Greg, it's I think legit to bring him back in here. Greg, you're on with Dodger. Did you hear what he was talking about there with his mall analogy? Do we have Greg? Greg in New York? Greg going once? Greg going twice? We may need to do some lines.
I hear him just fine.
Oh, interesting.
Oh, okay. So, something's going on with the phone system here. I'll tell you what, we're gonna figure this out. Dodger, you stand by, and Greg.
Greg's on now.
Well, hold on. We'll bring him on here in just a moment. Maybe we'll put one of them on the guest line or something like that. So stand by. We'll let Dodger and Greg go at it here in just a few moments, because I'm interested in knowing, and I guess I'll bring Greg on just alone here for a moment. Greg, what's your interest in the state? Are you is it buying your food for you? Your medical care? Are you going to school on the state's dime? Do you work for the state?
No, frankly, I don't work for the state. I actually work out of my house, just like you guys were talking about. I run an internet company. We've got about 4 million users around the world, so definitely in many different states. There's no the state for which I am allegiant to or anything like that.
Oh, I see. So you've got the benefit of having an online business where the state has yet to really figure out how to ruin your life. So, there's still that relative freedom of the frontier of the internet that you're enjoying, which allows you to avoid most of their pesky regulations and such that they would shove down the throat of any other business owner who tried to open up their doors and actually serve the local community in your area there in New York, which is, of course, the worst of all the states, ranked at number 50 on the Freedom of the 50 States chart. So stand by, Greg. We'll let you talk to Dodger here in moments on Free Talk Live.
Every once in a while, you get information that's worth changing your life for. This is one such time. You can save up to and beyond 25% on all purchases at Amazon. You probably heard of Bitcoin and just not thought much about it. You certainly know that you can get competitive pricing at Amazon, but now you can get a 25% discount on nearly everything you need to live. I've just given you a huge raise, and all you have to do is claim it. You go to saveitpurse.com and open an account. Do this right now. Don't wait. Then you fund the account with Bitcoin. You can buy them through expresscoin.com with a check or money order. There are other ways to get Bitcoin, but that's fast, safe, and easy. This information is worth you changing the way you do things. Go to saveitpurse.com right now, get signed up, and cash in on the huge raise I'm offering you. 15 to 25% off of everything at Amazon through saveitpurse.com. It's saveatpurse.com.
Will the government protect your family from Iran and North Korea's newest weapon, EMP? We buy guns to protect ourselves, home, health, and car insurance for accidents. Maybe you also have food storage. But how would you keep your refrigerator running in a long-term EMP blackout? Using tested military designs, the Solark EMP-hardened solar generator protects and powers your critical appliances for years without burying items underground or wrapping them in aluminum foil. Unlike other preps, Solark is used every day to help offset your electric bill automatically. Visit PortableSolarLLC.com to learn how easily expandable the system is. Solark is the most affordable and powerful solution on the market. The whole system even fits in the back of a pickup or SUV and can install in less than an hour. See for yourself why Solark beats other off-grid systems at PortableSolarLLC.com. Don't wait for the government. Go to PortableSolarLLC.com to learn why Solark is energy insurance for your family.
This is Michael Dean from the Freedom Fiends radio show. I've run websites since 1996 and have used over a dozen web hosts in that time. AgoristHosting.com is the only one that hasn't broken my heart. Agorist Hosting's uptime and service is stellar, and their DDoS mitigation is the best I've seen. That's important because if you tell the truth in this world, you'll ruffle feathers. And some people will try dirty tricks to silence your voice. No matter what the haters hit us with, Agorist Hosting keeps our websites online. If you have a mission-critical commercial presence or a world-changing activism site, you cannot tolerate any tomfoolery. So go with AgoristHosting.com. And if you want to get your foot in the door with decentralized marketplaces, Agorist Hosting is now offering Open Bazaar hosting. Go to agoristhosting.com, click on the button that says Get Hosted. Agorist Hosting, that's AGORIST hosting.com.
So you've heard all 3 hours of the latest episode of Free Talk Live, and you're still hungry for liberty-oriented audio content? Did you know that we have another 24/7 audio stream at LRN.FM? The Liberty Radio Network airs the latest episodes of some of the best liberty-oriented podcasts on the internet around the clock. In addition to recorded content, you'll also hear live shows like Free Talk Live, originating from our Keene, New Hampshire studio. So listen anytime at LRN.FM. That's LRN.FM.
On the second Saturday of every month, the Texas Republic Congress meets in a joint session. To learn how you can attend or become a member of Congress, visit thetexasrepublic.com. And together, we can liberate Texas.
You can put the Liberty Radio Network on the air in your area. Visit broadcast.lrn.fm to learn how. Broadcast.lrn.fm.
Free Talk Live, dial toll free and join us here. The number's 855-450-FREE, 855-450-3733. With you in our Keene, New Hampshire studio tonight, you've got me, Ian.
Cody.
And Johnson.
We're going to go back to your phone calls and thoughts here in moments. Also, want to let you know, if you want to help out Free Talk Live, one of the ways you can do that and help yourself at the same time is by shopping with us. You go to shop.freetalklive.com. You'll enter through the Amazon links you'll find there. There's Amazon UK, Amazon Canada, and Amazon US. You just go in through any one of those links, get your shopping taken care of, and Free Talk Live gets a cut of the sale. It's that simple. It's the same Amazon selection that you're used to, the same prices, everything that you're used to. You're just entering through our affiliate link, so Free Talk Live gets a cut of the sale. Once again, it's shop.freetalklive.com. We're going to see if we can get the phone conferencing feature working here. Just want to verify. Do we have Greg here? Greg in New York?
Yep.
Okay, Greg, I can hear you. We're going to try to bring Dodger back on the line. Do we have Dodger with us?
I'm here.
All right. And Greg, can you hear Dodger?
I can hear Dodger.
Excellent. So just for our listeners just tuning in, Greg, you'd called in the last hour talking about how you don't really believe there's really much of a difference between the state and a shopping mall. And Dodger had a response for that, essentially pointing out that, pointing out the force inherent in the system and that you can't ever leave. Well, Dodger, why don't you just briefly recap what you were trying to say, and then we'll let Greg respond to you.
Yeah, I just I didn't see it as a good analogy because essentially, I used the Mallrats thing and I pointed out that there was a crappy mall, and essentially I view the state as a bunch of crappy malls, and then to further on, each mall would force you to live in the mall and work in the mall, and provide whatever services. And in order to leave the mall, you have to go to another mall.
Okay, so I hear you. I mean, the only thing I would ask is to be able to respond to everything you're saying. So, in this case, what you're saying is the mall is forcing you to live and work there. I don't know of any state in the United States. There could be some countries out there, but in the United States, I can commute to New Jersey from New York, where I live, and I can go back. I can eat wherever I want. I don't think that objection applies to states either. I don't think states force you to do these things.
Well, when I look at the state, Greg, I look at any government, period, whether it be local, state, federal, any government, we libertarians refer to as the state. And so, in order for me to leave my state, which is Michigan, which is a crappy mall, I can go to less crappy malls like New Hampshire, and work in their crappy mall. It's nicer than my crappy mall. It's way nicer. But in order for me to go, leave this, take my business from this out of this mall, I have to take it to another mall. I'm forced to at gunpoint because otherwise I'm going to end up in a cage or worse, and 6 feet under the ground.
Well, I'm submitting to you that, yes, I agree with you. If you call the state, the institution, like state government, city governments, they're all governments. But you can go lower. You can have neighborhoods. You can have malls and buildings. I just moved into a building. And this building, if I want to start a business out of my apartment, the building has a say in it. And if I want to get pets, I think it's ridiculous, but they might not allow me to do that. I'm not hurting anybody.
Well, I totally agree with like let's see, neighborhood associations. I totally agree with things like that, where I agree. You know, I come into this agreement agreeing to these certain terms. Same with like condos. I come into this condo agreeing to certain terms, and you know, by me fulfilling these terms, you're going to provide these services, and I walk into it. When I was born into the United States, I did not agree to it. And furthermore, in order for me to move, from one state to another, I have to agree to those terms. And granted, I can choose which place I want to move to with terms that I'm a free state project participant. So I'm planning on moving to New Hampshire within the next couple of years, and so I'm choosing a nicer mall. But at either rate, I have to move to, using the mall analogy, I have to take myself from one mall to another, using your mall analogy. So what if I don't want to be in the mall? What if I just want to go along the side of a state highway?
What if you just want to be left alone?
Yeah, of course. Listen, you've brought up two good points. One is that the surface of the earth that is livable has become covered with these organizations, states as you call them, and that's certainly true that it's hard to live on the high seas or make a micronation, which Peter Thiel was enthusiastic about, and there's certainly areas you can live, but eventually my point is it all goes back because people form organizations for self-defense and other reasons. Those organizations then contract with each other.
There's a difference between voluntarily, Greg. This is, I think, what they were trying to point out to you. There's a difference between doing it voluntarily or it doesn't matter what landmass I move on this planet. And this is the thing with us principled libertarians. Right. You can take the entire globe, Greg, and it doesn't matter what landmass I move on to. I have to accept their services. I have to pay for their
The state isn't an organization like others. The state is not like the Elks Club. It's not like a mall. It's not like any other organization because the state has the unique ability to use initiatory force, to use aggression against people. The organization of the state was formed not to provide services to people, but to extract wealth from people, to feed off of, as a true parasite class, to feed off of the wealth and productivity of others. And they give services to sort of put up this smokescreen as though they're something more than just an occupying criminal gang. Greg, I'll let you respond. Dodger, thanks for your call tonight. I appreciate your attempt. Greg, anything else? Go for it.
Sure. Look, there's two things that I think Dodger brought up that were important. They're two separate things. One is being born in a certain jurisdiction, and another is that the whole surface of the earth is covered by states, which is not strictly true, but effectively true. So first of all, Dodger, nobody owes you an organization which runs how you want it to run. You're going to have to live in some organization, and those organizations eventually band together for protection, and they form commonwealths, and those lead to states. It could be entirely voluntary, and I think you'd allow that if it was done in a voluntary way. But at the end result is still coercion. The second thing that you said is, what if you were born in a state? Well, you didn't sign any contract. True. If I was born in any other organization that has a jurisdiction, like a corporate park or an apartment building, and I grew up and I never signed anything, that doesn't mean I can squat and live rent-free. It's exactly the same analogy if you are careful to apply it at both scales. If you tell me what the difference is, you have to really show that it doesn't apply in the other case as well.
Thanks for the call tonight, Greg. Appreciate it. Toll-free number here, 855-450-FREE. That's 855-450-3733. Look, I get the point that Greg is making, but it just sounds like an excuse for violence. Okay, yes, there are these organizations. They call themselves the state. Yes, they claim monopoly force over a given geographic area. And for us libertarians, that's not okay. That's something that we want to see change, because it's not okay to use aggression against our neighbors. What do you think?
So you've got to take a state construction license exam or certification. Can't decide on what books or what chapters to study? Discover right now how you can eliminate unnecessary books and wasted study time. At contractorexam.com, our study materials zero in on state-required test topics in an effective, multiple-choice format. So whether you're a plumber, electrician, general contractor, or other construction-related trade, contractorexam.com will help get you prepared. Visit us at www.contractorexam.com today.
The United States of Empire is a book that claims that the United States is the empire of the world. George Washington had warned us against foreign wars. The United States of Empire shows that World Wars I and II left England broken. Its former colony, the U.S., had to save the empire. Was there ever a vote? Who do we fight for? It all began with World War I. The United States of Empire by James Dunn, available at Amazon Books.
Hi folks, GetTheTea.com is the place where the popular Life Change tea calls home. But did you know Get the Tea is also where you can purchase GMO-free organic supplements? You can read about their potent power at GetTheTea.com. Also, they just added a YouTube channel called Health Matters Now. That's Health Matters Now. Education about our health can be a life change. Maybe that's why our famous tea is called Life Change Tea. Learn about the trees for life. Our supplements have no fillers, no wheat, no rice, no garbage. And our tea is wow to the body. Make a conscious health change. Educate yourself on the most powerful essence of life, which is your health. You want more? Log on to GetTheTea.com. That's GetTheTea.com. Or visit our YouTube channel at Health Matters Now. That's Health Matters Now. And don't forget our fabulous mild detox tea at GetTheTea.com.
This is your Roberts & Roberts Brokerage Daily Precious Metals Update. In early trading Tuesday, gold is $12 higher at $1,338 per ounce. Silver is 17 cents higher at $19.74 per ounce. Bitcoin is trading at 608 US dollars. If you've thought about buying gold or silver but didn't know how or what to buy, we can help. Call Roberts & Roberts Brokerage today at 800-874-9760 or visit us online at rrbi.co.
LRN.FM is proud to announce our official listening apps for Android and iOS devices. Now you can easily tune into our streams anywhere, anytime on your smartphone or tablet. Just visit apps.lrn.fm or search for LRN.FM in the Android or Apple app stores. Please download, rate us 5 stars, then share the link on your social media, and let your friends and family know how you're listening to LRN.FM. Download it now, free, at apps.lrn.fm.
Now Facebook is rolling out their newest feature, LifePoint, which analyzes users' histories to determine exactly when things went wrong. The new feature combs through photos, status updates, likes, everything that you put on Facebook in order to pinpoint how someone irreparably ruined their life. For example, it might highlight your friend's spring break trip in 2003 when she took her first shot, or your cousin's engagement to a guy named Scott spelled with a K.
So, Facebook must have a lot of depressing information to work with.
Well, we look for sadness indicators, positive versus negative adjectives and status updates, whether you've liked a corporate entity such as Walmart or Arby's.
One of LifePoint's most buzzed about features is the Life Compare function, which lets you see how your mistakes stack up to others.
Here, I'm overlaying my graph with a graph of a childhood friend. You can see his life ended up much worse than mine, which is great.
Anything with a profile has a LifePoint, so you can look forward to finding out when your favorite bands, TV shows, and companies started going downhill.
This is the Onion News Network.
You can connect with the Liberty Radio Network via our Facebook page at facebook.lrn.fm. That's facebook.lrn.fm.
This is Free Talk Live. You can bring up anything that you want here. The toll-free number is 855-450-FREE. That's 855-450-3733. We do have Skype as well. Skype username is LRN.FM. Coming up, girls and guns. Johnson's got a fairly incendiary post, apparently, that he wanted to share on that topic. Not his own post, but one of Brian Sovereign, former Free Talk Live co-host, host of Sovereign Tech. It's Ian, Cody, and Johnson in the studio, but we're going to go back to the phones, to the fun first. David is in New Mexico. You're on Free Talk Live. Hello, David.
Hey, good evening again.
Welcome.
I have an endless list of things you'd be interested in, but to keep you interested, today you talked about Gary Johnson, and I have questioned Gary live on our local radio station twice, and you might be interested in that.
Okay.
Yeah, my experience with him, I had spoken to him in the context of what, like I alluded to on a previous conversation with you, our local station will not let me discuss the fact that I haven't seen my children in 10 years from actions of the family and children's courts that I proved at least one aspect of it was unlawful. I won a unanimous decision at our Court of Appeals. I had spoken to you about that. And in questioning,
I think I remember
Gary
what you had
Johnson,
said, that you won a decision, and then the court who'd ruled the judge who'd ruled against you at the lower level got promoted, even though she screwed you over. She got promoted to the same court that you won at. Is that right?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
M. Monica Zamora was the district court judge that sold my children in an illegal adoption. And I can say it was illegal because I proved it with unanimous decision at the New Mexico Court of Appeals.
And then she got promoted.
And then she not got promoted. What she did is she got elected to the Court of Appeals. Here's another fact on that you might be interested in. An insider at that Court of Appeals, knowing the fight that I was involved in and what happened to me, brought to me the statement that Zamora's family, there are 4 government-employed judges, DA, school lawyer, so on, in her family, that they put up, they were willing to spend up to $1 million cash of their family money for her campaign to win that seat on the New Mexico Court of Appeals that pays something just over $100,000 a year.
Now, why would someone do that? Why would somebody spend $1 million to get a seat that pays $100,000 a year as a judge? Is that because they're going to get some sort of benefits from it? Of course it is. Now, look, what's it have to do with Gary Johnson?
Well, so the point of that is that my questions to these candidates, he was on as a candidate at the last presidential election, and my questions to all politicians is, since my and my children's civil rights and human rights were obviously violated, my questions to them are along the lines of civil and human rights. And when I question Gary Johnson on issues of the U.S. Constitution that should have protected myself and my children from this having happened, I discovered that, and he's in good company, because there has been virtually no politician I've ever questioned that has been educated on the Constitution and how it should have protected me and my children from this. He also had not a good response to my question on due process and such like that. So it was kind of a half of a dodge and a half that he's
a dodgy kind of guy, man. He's a politician. I mean, the dude's he's a smooth talker. David, thanks for the call tonight. I appreciate it. Gary Johnson, he's a nice guy, but lots of politicians will appear nice. You know, they want to get your vote. They want you to like them. They want you to talk about them, to, recommend them to your friends. And then ultimately they won't do anything for you when they finally get elected. And, of course, Gary Johnson has next to no chance of getting elected. He's running as a libertarian. Now, we will continue to cover the Gary Johnson debacle here as it continues to develop. Meanwhile, we go to Sarah, also in New Mexico. You're on Free Talk Live. Hello, Sarah.
Yes, I just want to, say that, it's so awesome that David called. I listened to him talk on many of our local stations, and he had said very, very intelligent things. So I'm so happy that I could hear him on.
So what were you calling about tonight, Sarah?
Yes, my point was that, there is an app on a smartphone that helps you detect red light cameras.
Sweet.
So if you program it into your phone, it actually beeps when you're approaching a red light camera.
Nice.
And
you probably hate that, don't you?
Know. Well, the thing is, all I got is a dumb phone, and I don't even have a car.
What's that app called?
I have no idea what it's called, but this person explained it to me. There's like 3 little steps that you do to program your phone, and then it's supposed to alert you like beep, beep, beep as it gets along. And so I'm just hoping that this will take away all this panic about our red light cameras, you know?
So wait, you're saying you support the red light app?
Well, I do. I really do.
Okay, good.
You know what?
Cool. I'm on board with you on this. I think people need to be aware of the locations of the things that could extract unending amounts of wealth from them. Thank you, Sarah, for the call tonight. According to a quick search, Red Flex Locator is one of them. That was a story in USA Today, March of 2015. I bet you there's more than one app, though. I bet this is not the only one. Now, what's the best one? I don't know. If you've got recommendations, you can let us know. Let's switch gears, though, Johnson. Do you have the post from Brian Sovereign?
Yep.
This is about guns and girls, right?
Yeah, it actually starts out. He's commenting on another post, a post by Lauren Southern.
I've heard of this girl. She's like a conservative type, isn't she?
Yeah, she's a conservative. She calls herself a libertarian, liberty-minded person, but she's more on the conservative side.
Isn't she like a Cantwell kind of
I
person?
think so. Yep.
Okay.
So, Brian Sovereign starts off his post, trigger warning, my opinions are not popular. Over 3,000 and he's talking about Lauren Southern's posts.
Yeah.
Over 3,000 likes on this post, hundreds of comments, nearly 100 shares, and you should read most of these comments. Yikes. Clearly the liberty movement has a lot of salivating, lifeless Mupron men. Why? Mupron. So... Why? Because this photo is disgusting. And the photo is of Lauren Southern, who's an attractive, blonde, libertarian female, holding an AK. Yep. He says, this photo is disgusting. There is nothing sexy about this. She's holding an AK. For a movement that talks so much about peace and getting to a world where violence and coercion isn't a part of the program anymore, it certainly seems to fetishize death quite a bit. Value is subjective, sure, but you know what I think is sexy? Books, working on one's brain, creating something instead of destroying, working out, building up personal strength and power instead of putting on display the false sense of power that guns provide people with. Love is sexy. Life is sexy, not death. And only one person in the whole pass out of hundreds seems to get how sick this picture really is. A nice-looking girl holding a murder weapon. And yes, that's what that is.
Come on.
Yeah, yes, that's what that is. You're not going hunting with it. Some people get off on that, but if you stop to think about it, that's just sick. That's he's reading someone else's comment, and he says, bingo, it's sick. It is. Very simply, fetishizing the death of other human beings and fetishizing death of persons is that part of being sex positive that I just can't buy. Murder play, etc. It's horrendous and so obviously comes from terrible past traumas.
Well, now hold on before you go on here.
Let me just finish this paragraph because he's there. It comes from terrible past traumas, and how anyone can accept it as anything less than needing therapy blows my mind.
Jeez. Okay. There's more to this post,
yes.
and
he's really reading a lot into just a simple picture of a cute girl holding a gun.
Look, I get what he's saying, murder weapon. It seems a little hyperbolic, though. I mean, a lot of women and men have guns to defend themselves against being murdered by some psychopath. Now, I do also kind of agree with the idea that guns are, to some extent, fetishized in the libertarian movement, and there's something kind of weird about that. I'm not into it myself, but I understand where it comes from because I used to be kind of one of those people to some extent. I was never really a gun nut, but I can kind of relate to both sides of this.
We'll just have to Photoshop a bong in there instead.
Let's continue.
Make everybody happy.
Let's continue this in moments. It's Free Talk Live.
People who can afford a LASIK procedure sure are lucky. Imagine being able to throw away your contacts and glasses. Imagine waking up tomorrow with 20/20 vision. Too bad everyone can't afford LASIK. Well, guess what? There's a company that agrees with you. TLC Laser Eye Centers is now offering great prices on high-quality LASIK to make it affordable for everyone. That means you get the latest FDA-approved all-laser LASIK technology for less than what others charge. And if you call right now, we'll schedule a free appointment so you can discover if LASIK is right for you. Results may vary. Call 1-800-929-5733. Even better, if you're one of the first 100 callers, ask about an extra $400 off your all-laser LASIK procedure. That's $200 off per eye. We've already performed over 2 million procedures. Let us help you. Discover how you can get the quality LASIK experience you deserve for less than what others charge. For your free appointment, call 1-800-929-5733. 1-800-929-5733.
For over 5 years, you've been hearing about the Berkey Guy, so you may know a few things about him. For example, you are well aware of the superior quality and effectiveness of Berkey water filters and accessories. But did you know the Berkeys have had independent lab tests done to prove just how effective they are? It's true, and he can email you the test results. Just visit goberkey.com. You may also know that the Berkey Guy has helped tens of thousands of people get better prepared. Now here's something you may not know. GoBerkey.com has amazing specials and deals all the time on a wide variety of survival and preparedness products. Most ready to ship same day. Visit the Berkey Guy at GoBerkey.com and be sure to click the red Products on Sale Now button. You can always call toll-free 877-886-3653. Again, that's 877-886-3653. GoBerkey.com, home of the Berkey Guy.
Since time began, tyrants have taken aim at personal liberties. Now there's a movie that aims back.
The government has no more right to tell us what to put in our bodies than they have to take our guns or tell us what books we can read.
6 drug police were eaten by bears while raiding a marijuana farm.
On your knees, you dirty hippie! Jesus. On your knees! What's the problem, officer?
Today, many cops who enforce pot laws do so only because it provides them with cushy jobs, good benefits, and a chance to push people around.
I was an undercover narcotics officer. The drug war is nothing but a farce.
The Second Amendment says you gotta keep you and your get intact.
Guns and Weed, The Road to Freedom. A film by Michael W. Dean and Nima Vadadi.
DVD available now at gunsandweed.com or on Amazon. That's gunsandweed.com. Makes the perfect gift. Remember, that's gunsandweed.com.
You may already know about the Free Talk Live audio-on-demand phone line at 641-793-9660. Did you know that not only can you listen to Free Talk Live via your phone, you can also leave a message and have it delivered to Free Talk Live's hosts? To leave us your thoughts, just dial 641-793-9660. That's 641-793-9660. Press 2 for Free Talk Live, and then hit 0 to leave your message. Ross Ulbricht was convicted in early 2015 of running the infamous Silk Road Underground Market. The Silk Road was a gift to humanity and helped reduce the harms brought on by drug prohibition. For this good deed, Ross has been sentenced to life in prison with no possibility of parole. Now, an appeal is Ross's only chance, and he needs your support. Please visit freeross.org, where you can contribute via various methods, including Bitcoin. Visit freeross.org. That's freeross.org.
While our satellite channel is free to listen to, it's not free for us. You can help us cover our satellite costs with the chip in on the right side of the page at lrn.fm.
Free Talk Live moments remain here. We're talking about girls and guns. And former Free Talk
Nobody
Live...
wants to talk about that topic.
Free Talk Live co-host Brian Sovereign is mad about it. He has posted an angry rant on a Facebook update, and Johnson, you are sharing that with us. We'll get right back into that. Of course, you can join us here toll-free, 855-450. Free Skype username is lrn.fm. And if you like the show and you want to help support Free Talk Live, please become an amplifier at amp.freetalklive.com. AMP stands for Advertise, Market, and Promote. And the idea there is we will take your $5 a month in and invest it into Free Talk Live, getting us on more radio stations around the country, bringing new internet listeners on board, and exposing new people to the ideas of freedom. Because that's what we do, and we do it pretty well here on Free Talk Live. So if you want to help us out and get perks like access to the AMP-only call-in lines, the AMP-only podcast, AMP-only Facebook group, just go and get signed up with any major credit card through PayPal, Visa, or MasterCard right on our website. And also, now we've got Bitcoin signups again. So if you want to do Bitcoin amping, we can do it. You just have to remember, if you're going to do Bitcoin, you have to sign up for prepaid AMP. So normally AMP's a monthly debit or credit on your card or account, but with Bitcoin you can't really do that. So Bitcoin, you just have to set the prepaid option. You'll be good to go. So once again, head over to amp.freetalklive.com, ampamp.freetalklive.com. Brian Sovereign is commenting on a girl named Lauren Southern. Now, I got to admit, I don't know much about Lauren Southern.
It doesn't look like I need to.
But she, according to Google, quick Google here, shows that she is apparently from Canada. She's a libertarian activist, they claim, but also an alt-right advocate. Now, I don't know if you can do those things together. Can you be alt-right and also libertarian? I don't know enough. I mean, alt-right, I get the feeling like Cantwell's alt-right.
Right.
Now, Cantwell, he used to be a host on this show, ended up getting kicked off because of racism. And so are all alt-right people racist? I don't know. What does it mean to be alt-right? I really don't honestly know. I get the feeling that the alt-right people are like the we want to blow up the government with violence kind of people.
Yeah.
I could be wrong about that, but
I don't know. Melanie might describe herself as alt-right.
And she's somebody who wants to see the cops die.
Right.
Okay.
I would think,
But she would also probably describe herself as liberty-oriented. Like, I'm just saying, like, there is...
True. She's pretty liberty-oriented. Yeah. I'll give her that. But Cantwell has become less liberty-oriented. He's actually gone to the State House and testified against freedom-oriented things, like the topless. Like there was a proposed ban on toplessness that didn't go anywhere, but he went and argued in favor of that ban.
Right.
So it's some sort of level of conservatism in there that is not.
Which is really weird for an atheist. That's the weird contradiction I've always seen.
He's been doing very strange things over the last year.
He argues from very like religious morality perspectives in my opinion.
Politics makes for strange bedfellows, I guess you can say. But let's continue with Sovereign's angry post here so we can get all of that out.
It continues. As I always say, if an armed society is a polite society, then humans aren't fit to have consciousness. If you're not polite intrinsically, you're a bunch of losers wrapped in a bag of flesh. And I'm not saying there aren't bad people out there that you need to defend yourself from, but there are plenty of other ways to defend yourself, even from larger attackers, than just going for a gun that I pretty much guarantee you haven't gone through enough training to minimize the injury of innocents in a stressful situation. And if your real fetish is defending yourself against governments or armies, are you serious? Drones will take you down from miles away, especially in our smartphone-enabled tracking network. This isn't the cave networks of Afghanistan, folks. You're just a little too high if you think you're going to get somewhere for the so-called freedom through violent revolution. You're insane. Effing insane. If this picture is representative of what's sexy for liberty-oriented people, I am not in their number. Bottom line, I get that power and confidence can be sexy, but guns are a false sense of power, and no matter whose hands they're in, they just embolden coercion in the state. Guns are not sexy.
All right, Johnson, what do you think about that?
I think that this whole equating guns to being these symbols of killing humans it's kind of ridiculous. Guns are, for the majority of people who own them, not meant to be used. It's sort of like the whole first rule of gun safety is don't point a gun at anything you don't intend to destroy.
That's correct.
And most people are not pointing their guns at and destroying human beings. They're, target practice.
Unless they're in the military.
Unless they're in the military or maybe police.
Right.
But the purpose of a gun generally is for self-defense is so that you don't have to use that gun, so that you have it and the threat exists, so that there's an there's a unanimity of threat between a bad person, someone who wants to break in your house at 2 a.m. and looking for pills, or someone to rape. And you have a threat that you can say, get out of here.
The gun is a great equalizer.
And you don't have to shoot the person in your house, but you say, get out of here or I will.
Yeah, and the gun is the great equalizer, especially for women who tend to be smaller on average than male counterparts.
Right.
And so historically a gun, even a small pistol, has been an odds evener for situations in a parking lot or in a home or wherever, dark alley, street, that have likely saved a lot of lives, prevented a lot of rapes, that kind of thing. And I don't
think Lauren Southern is going around killing people, but she is proclaiming to the world, hey, don't mess with me. Like,
that is what this is.
I'm able to defend myself.
This is a signaling. It's signaling in the same way that a man would signal don't mess with me by jacking himself up and looking all tough or whatever. This is a way for a woman to signal that she is prepared to defend herself by showing this off. On the other hand, okay, so that I agree with what you're saying there. On the other hand, there is the fetishizing of violence against the police in the liberty movement.
There are people that do that.
There are people who write fantasy novels and stories about killing the police. There are people who talk openly about that on their radio shows or on their YouTube video casts, and they don't actually go out and do those things. They really enjoy it when someone else does it. So they're trying to encourage other people to do it in their stead. They don't have the courage to go out and do it themselves. But by rattling the saber enough or shaking the AK enough, they hope that they can convince someone else to go out and do their dirty work for them. In that case, I agree with Brian in that that's BS. You aren't going up against the state. TJ made one of these points, previously. The SEAL team that they send after you or whatever, the SWAT team, they're going to get you. They're going to get you, and no amount of guns that you have is going to outgun the fact that they've got the Bearcat or the MRAP or whatever other weapons that are likely much more expensive and much more fancy. They've got more guys than you do. So the idea that all this is going to come down to some sort of shooting war.
They seem to be doing well with a few AKs in Iraq.
I get what you're saying there.
I mean, they tend to be doing all right over there.
But against
the fancy equipment,
as Brian Sovereign pointed out, if they wanted to drone strike you, it would be no problem whatsoever. I think he makes some good points there. There is something to
the point that the reason why I bring that up and say that that they seem to be doing it over there is if you have enough of these people showing guns, it at least is a message that hey, there are a lot of people. Like it's sort of like the don't attack Switzerland or don't attack
Switzerland.
It's Switzerland because they're a porcupine. Like they're. Just everyone has guns, so it's like one of those things where it's like you don't want to mess with that because there's a lot of guns around. It's sort of the same thing in America. There are a lot of patriots, if you want to call them that and nationalists who are armed to the teeth.
Sure, but where were they?
Not rolling it. That may be part of the reason why.
Where were they in Massachusetts after the Boston bombing when you had house-to-house searches?
Right.
I mean, they didn't. If someone
I
had
would say
guns,
Massachusetts is not necessarily the most
not a gun-friendly place.
Yeah.
Not even close.
Right.
That much is true.
I think if that had happened in Texas, it might be a different story.
Maybe. I don't know. It would be interesting to see. I mean, I hope that doesn't happen, so we don't have to find out.
What I would bet? I bet they wouldn't be rolling house to house.
No, I don't even think they'd even try and pull that crap in Texas.
There was a house of libertarians that we know personally that was involved in that down in Massachusetts. They didn't even pull out a video camera.
Right.
And to me, that was really disappointing. I figured at the very least we get some video of this nonsense going on by the libertarians that happen to be down there, but they were too scared to even pull out a video camera.
At the very least, they did call into my show the next day, but
they called into Free Talk Live as well. But regardless, I think Brian Sovereign has some legitimate critiques here of the sort of the gun worshiping culture that does tend to exist. And some of that can be unrealistic, and people like Lauren Southern are just pandering to that. I mean, the girl knows that if she gets a semi-revealing tank top, gets a gun, and takes a quick picture, she's going to get shares. And
he
good
said
for
it
her.
Right at the beginning of his post. 3,000 likes. Or
by comparison, Brian, who is not he's a handsome man. I mean, he's in good shape. He only has one share and about 20 likes on his. So, I mean, maybe there's a little jealousy there.
Ooh, shots fired.
I love Brian Sovereign. I think he's a great guy, and I don't know who this lady is, so good luck to her. We'll see you tomorrow night online. In the meantime, also don't forget to check out Cody on his show offtheairlive.com, and also Anarchy After Dark, which is his other show, but it doesn't have a website. More coming up tomorrow.
Excuse me, is this where I get a license to start a new business?
I wouldn't be hasty. You have to get a license to go out of business, too,
Oh, well, look, I've invented this little anti-gravity machine, see?
Oh, is that why you're walking 2 inches above the floor?
Oh, yes, it's very comfortable. It saves on shoe leather.
Yeah, well, you have to fill out these forms and report to the Human Services Department of Manpower Orientation and register with the Fair Employment Practice Commission, the Wage and Hour Division of the Employment Standards Administration, the State Sales and Income Tax Division, the Internal Revenue Service, and the Social Security Administration of the Department of Health, Education, and Welfare, and, of course, OSHA.
OSHA? I thought that was a little town in Wisconsin.
You'll find out. Say, floating around like that could be dangerous. Have you checked with the Consumer Product Safety Commission?
Well, not yet.
Come to think of it, you actually are flying, aren't you? Look, you need to go over to the Federal Aviation Administration and the Transportation...
It's very hard to get anything done these days if you're in business, but free enterprise built this country. Think what could happen if we don't keep it free. A public service of this station and the Center for the Defense of Free Enterprise, Bellevue, Washington.
We just can't have people floating about unregulated, you know.
So you've signed the Shire Society Declaration and are planning your move to New Hampshire to be around more liberty-oriented people. Next, sign up for the Shire Society Forum at forum.shiresociety.com. There are a bunch of people there who are already in the Shire, and they want to meet you. If you're already in the Shire physically, you should also come by the forums. Remember, not everyone uses Facebook. New people are signing up for the Shire Society Forum every month, so drop in and say hello at forum.shiresociety.com. Free Talk Live has partnered with Amazon, the largest internet retailer. Imagine a department store category, and Amazon has it. Books, electronics, office products, furniture, jewelry, automotive, toys, clothing, sporting goods, and dozens of other categories. Now you can shop and support Free Talk Live by entering Amazon through our website. Go to shop.freetalklive.com, and Amazon will send us a portion of your purchase. You're going to do the shopping anyway, so remember to enter through our site at shop.freetalklive.com. That's shop.freetalklive.com.
This is the Liberty Radio Network, broadcasting the latest liberty-oriented audio content 24 hours a day at LRN.FM.
Are you tired of hearing things like this on the radio and television?
I've read the Quran, the Hadiths, the Surahs. 90% of it is violence.
Terrorism, Islamic terrorism, ISIS, Islamic terrorism.
I would even submit to you that Islam's not even a religion. It's a social, political system that uses a deity to advance its agenda of global conquest.
Wouldn't you much rather hear things like this?
And Muslims traditionally were very libertarian in their approach.
The Prophet, peace be upon him, says even at times of war, you don't break a tree, you don't destroy buildings, you don't kill women and children, you don't kill the aged and the elderly.
What's called income tax in classical Islam is definitely prohibited. Muslims are very wary of any scholar who associates closely with the government, and they always have been.
Join Will Coley and his rotating cast of scholars on Call to Freedom every Sunday night from 10 p.m. to midnight on the Liberty Radio Network, LRN.FM.
For years, LRN.FM has had a listen line that you can call and listen to LRN.FM anytime. Now we're taking the idea to a new level with the LRN.FM audio on-demand line. You can call 641-793-9660 anytime and listen to LRN.FM's live feed, and you can listen to a bunch of our original shows on demand. Long-distance fees may apply. Just dial 641-793-9660 and choose from the menu 641-793-9660.
This is your Roberts & Roberts Brokerage Daily Precious Metals Update. In early trading Tuesday, gold is $12 higher at $1,338 per ounce. Silver is 17 cents higher at $19.74 per ounce. Bitcoin is trading at $608 US. If you've thought about buying gold or silver but didn't know how or what to buy, we can help. Call Roberts & Roberts Brokerage today at 800-874-9760 or visit us online at rrbi.co.
Help get LRN.FM into more ears. Visit promote.lrn.fm for a free bumper sticker, flyers, banners, graphics, and more. Promote.lrn.fm. The latest edition of The Lava Flow is next on the Liberty Radio Network at LRN.fm. Get more at thelavaflow.com.
Colin Kaepernick is refusing to stand for the national anthem. Is he right to do so? Thank you for joining me on this, the 11th episode of The Lava Spurt, the I Sit with Kaepernick edition. And make sure you hang on through the end of this episode to hear how you can win some cool swag from me.
Welcome to The Lava Spurt, the weekly offshoot of The Lava Flow. Channeling the flow of information to the libertarian, anarcho-capitalist, voluntarist, and agorist community. Brought to you by my per-episode donors. Thank you. Here's your host, Roger Paxton.
San Francisco 49ers quarterback Colin Kaepernick has willingly immersed himself directly into controversy and the line of fire by refusing to stand for the playing of the national anthem in protest of what he deems are wrongdoings against African Americans and minorities in the United States. He's done this for at least 2 pregame seasons so far this year. Quote, I am not going to stand up to show pride in a flag for a country that oppresses black people and people of color, Kaepernick told NFL media in an interview after the game. Quote, to me, this is bigger than football, and it would be selfish on my part to look the other way. There are bodies in the street and people getting paid leave and getting away with murder. In an interview with NBC, Kaepernick said, quote, this country stands for freedom, liberty, justice for all, and it's not happening for all right now. This is because I'm seeing things happen to people that don't have a voice, people that don't have a platform to talk and have their voices heard and affect change. So I'm in a position where I can do that, and I'm going to do that for people that can't. Now, this guy has some major cojones. He has willingly put a target on his back to bring attention to a major issue in this country. An issue that I talk about on this show quite a bit, and I have nothing but respect for his stance on this issue. I do wish that he had called out all police violence, and not just targeting his comments at police violence on black people, because there is a much larger picture. This is not a race issue. It is a power issue. It's an issue of authority asserting their power over their minions. His stance on this issue caused such an uproar that even Donald Trump told him that he should leave the country, saying, quote, well, I have followed the Kaepernick story, and I think it's personally not a good thing. I think it's a terrible thing. And maybe he should find a country that works better for him. Let him try. It won't happen. Anyone that can get Donald Trump to say leave this country is someone worth taking a look at. But you might ask, what's the harm in standing up like everybody else during the song and just keeping your mouth shut? Primarily because the national anthem is a celebration not only of our country and what it does today, but also of slavery and the murder of slaves. The end of the 3rd verse of the Star-Spangled Banner says, quote, no refuge could save the hireling and slave from the terror of flight or the gloom of the grave. And the Star-Spangled Banner in triumph doth wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave. Francis Scott Key, the writer of the national anthem, owned several slaves himself and was vehemently opposed to abolition. This phrase from the poem that he wrote is just a disgusting display of how anti-freedom the founding of this nation really was. Freedom for me, but not for thee, was the type of freedom that they wanted, and that is